What is happening out there, rotoscouts baseball fans? Welcome to a Tuesday show, gang. Good afternoon. About 2:18 on your clock. Hope your day's going well. Work day, you're getting through. A couple hours left, but once you hit 2 o'clock, we're coasting at that point, unless you got like some big meeting or some big sales pitch or presentation or whatever. But hopefully everybody's got an easy day out there. Hopefully it's DFS time. You can start thinking about lineups. Aaron Boone's thinking about his lineup. He's already got it confirmed. Yanks lineup is on the board already. Just updated that up on the site. Doing the smart thing and putting Aaron Judge in the 2 spot where he belongs. Like to see that. Yanks drawing a big total to start the day. Should be interesting. Kansas City on the other side did not come through for us last night. A little bit disappointing there for those of us who chased some Royals upside. But not the same day. Definitely not looking quite as appealing as they did yesterday going up against Max Fried here. So it'll be an interesting kind of slate. Just to give a quick take on this first game that's just staring us in the face while we get some people trickling in. Cujo's here. Good to see you, buddy. Hope your day's going well too. Quiet chat to get things started, but we had a ton of people here yesterday. Hopefully we'll get a big turnout again today. We were a little later in the day yesterday because we only had, 8 games yesterday, no basketball. Hockey ended up going up a little bit later than I intended. Took me a little bit longer than I expected, just with a lot of line changes for hockey. So I'm trying to leave myself a little bit more time because there are 10 hockey games to get to. Basketball's already up on the site for the 2 games of the play-in tourney. That starts up tonight. There's a 7:30 game and a 10-something game. I'll be refining those as we go, but there's no real ins and outs. The only thing is Trey is probable, but he's almost certainly going to play. If anything weird happens, we'll definitely see changes. Any line movement, we'll see changes. We've got a really interesting deep 11-game baseball slate to get through. I'm going to try and get us in and out in somewhere around 4:30, something like that. So I've got a little bit of time to not completely short shift the couple people out there waiting on the NHL projections. Michael Nax here. What's going on, Mike? Good to see you. Not a lot. Handed Dylan back off to my folks today. That week went quick. He was here for 8 days or 7 days, 7 days. And it flew by. Sounded like my cousin's wedding down in Florida. It was very nice. Sorry to have missed it. I sincerely doubt that she's out there watching on her honeymoon. But Kate, hope you had a good wedding. If you are, hope your honeymoon's going well. Glad to hear you're doing well, Cooch. So let's just dive into this thing. We'll let people trickle in. We'll let people catch up as they arrive and replay and all of that. Let me click on that. I got too many. I got NHL, NBA, and MLB open here. Got to click on the right one. All right. Vegas board. You can see a couple really key spots and then a lot of just kind of even Steven across the league. A lot of upper 3 totals, a lot of lower 4 totals, but a few standout spots like the Yankees drawing a 5+. That's a really gettable looking spot against Michael Wacha, but we know that the Yanks can kind of be hit and miss. They can push a little bit of strikeout upside. Wacha can break off a good start here and there. He's a highly average type pitcher. The Rays are drawing a big total, and the Red Sox are respectable enough one on the other side of that game. So we can definitely talk offense there. The Rays went off for, 15, 16 runs yesterday? That was a big spot. We were talking about that one. I like the Red Sox on the other side of it in that park, with a little bit of upside against Baz just on talent. They do have a better lineup, but they came up pretty empty on that one. But the Rays obviously needed to have some Tampa Bay Rays yesterday with how things went. Guardians and the Orioles with a 9-run total there. We've also got the Orioles pushing up a 4.95, showing a little bit of power upside against Logan Allen, who has shown nothing whatsoever so far this season. Like the upside for the Orioles, 9-run total in that game. There's a little bit of juice on the Guardian side as well. There's definitely upside around Jose Ramirez and some of the very high-end guys in that lineup. They're a lineup filled with obviously a superstar and then a number of guys who are above average. It's not fair to call them overachievers because they are talented guys, but they're decently above average players while not hitting that star level, not hitting that like B+ level, but a lot of B's, B- types. So it's a very playable lineup a lot of the time. we'll take a look at it. They're going up against Charlie Morton, who can be pretty hit and miss at this stage of his career. He's given up at least 4 runs in each of his first 3 starts. So I think it's a little gettable on the Cleveland side as well. The Braves came through with all that power they were showing yesterday. We had 2 home runs out of Austin Riley. We had Murphy go deep. It was a big day for the explosive upside. If you remember, we had that pocket of 3 guys in the 13s, and we were showing a ton of power against whoever that Blue Jay starter was that we didn't that we talked about being a little bit oddly overpriced. They got him exposed pretty nastily. This one, Spencer Schwellenbach going for the Braves and Kevin Gausman going for the Blue Jays. Gausman had a great start in his last one. It was a vintage start against the Red Sox at Fenway. He struck out 10, went 8 innings, allowed just one unearned run on 4 hits, faced 27 hitters. That was a day we were looking definitely at Red Sox bats, talking about how his strikeouts have been down year over year last year, and then they had dipped already in a small sample so far this year. He had struck out 0 in the prior game against the Mets, but obviously solved all those problems at least for 1 outing the last time out. Still a work in progress in my mind as far as what those Ks are going to look like, and we'll take a deeper look at it in a minute. But if we get anything approaching that, at least reasonable to expect him to to potentially suppress the Braves. Spencer Schwellenbach on the other side is just dynamite. Very interesting looking pitcher. Mets and the Twins, we've got Tyler McGill, we've got Bailey Ober. Either side of that one is going to be probably a pretty 4 cornersy kind of a game. It's an 8-run total, 4.11 on the Mets side. They're showing a good amount of power upside against Bailey Ober, who has struggled a little bit out of the gate. Actually, the last 2 starts were all right. He gave up 1 earned run in each of them. He just hasn't really found his strikeout stuff. He's given up a little bit of power, which is always what he's vulnerable to. And the Mets are drawing a ton of power because they've got some very, very good home run hitters in that lineup. So DFS-wise, they might look a little bit more interesting than that run total does. They were one of the highly projected stacks on the stacks board if you take a look at it. The Twins on the other side are going up against McGill, who is potentially in the process of starting a breakout year. He's had 3 decent starts. The innings are a little bit dicey. The depth is a little bit dicey. But he's got really interesting looking stuff right now, and there could be some upside there. We basically got there yesterday with Clay Holmes for a fair price. We're definitely going to be interested in at least exploring McGill at price. Oakland at Chicago, or excuse me, the Athletics at Chicago, no longer Oakland. It's Jeffrey Springs at Sean Burke. Burke has had some interesting stuff in if you watch, some of the individual pitch highlights, can make things work. But overall, I don't know how much there really is there, and we haven't seen a ton of upside. We've seen him give up some runs. We've seen him peak at like 4 strikeouts. He walked a few in his last game. We'll go through it. But I don't think we're really minding pitching on the Chicago side. We're really not that interested in Chicago bats. Jeffrey Springs, on the other hand, maybe an interesting option. A lot of strikeout ability, 3.42 implied total for the opposing White Sox. Looks pretty good. And then some Athletics bats, I think, are definitely going to be on the board. 4.17 implied total. They were kind of a middle of the board stack, but look pretty decent with their power upside. 7.5 runs between the Tigers and the Brewers, basically dead even on the Vegas board, 3.8 per team. Jack Flaherty, one of the top projected pitchers of the day. On the other side, in my opinion, they're going up against Quinn Priester. I don't really see a ton of upside on him. He had a decent start in his outing at Colorado. I'll give him that. He was, once upon a time, a pretty highly regarded pitching prospect. But I really like that Tigers lineup. I actually made Kerry Carpenter the home run pick of the day from that game. So we're going to take a look at some Tigers. We'll talk it through. Astros at the Cards. Cards went off yesterday too. Or was that the day before? No, that was yesterday. That was with Frommer on the hill. So that one was a little bit unexpected. Frommer's got to get in gear a little bit. It's been a little disappointing, underwhelming to start the year. Hunter Brown, on the other hand, the guy going for the Astros today, has been pretty solid to start the season. 3 straight 6-inning starts, which is great for FanDuel upside. You're chasing that quality start. It's nice to know that he's right at that level. 2 very good strikeout games. The third game, he only struck out 3, but he didn't give up any runs, only allowed 2 hits. That was against Seattle. It was a little bit disappointing in the DFS sense that he didn't really come away with a lot of Ks in that game. That was one where we're definitely chasing at Seattle, but good enough start. I guess we got to start maybe considering, not start because of the results, but maybe we consider this Cardinals lineup not in this spot for DFS, but as a little bit more high danger than maybe I've been giving him credit through while talking about it. So maybe it's just a show thing where I've got to remember that there are some decent bats in that lineup as we go through it, because I have connected a little bit early, but it's still a flawed team and it's a fairly low total. I think we're going Hunter Brown, and then it's Eric Fedde on the other side. I'm not a big fan. I'm more inclined to lean toward Astros bats, but Vegas has them under 4 runs, not looking all that great. Angels, Rangers, definitely showing some power upside on both sides of this one. The Angels are going up against Tyler Mahle, and the Rangers will be taking shots against Yusei Kikuchi, who we've talked about a bunch of times. Tons of strikeout upside, potential to go deep into a game and pitch a very, very solid DFS game on any given slate. But when the walk issues crop up, and more importantly, when the home runs pop up, it becomes problematic in a hurry. And that's been basically the nature of his first 3 starts. He's gotten 6 in each of them. He's only allowed 4 earned runs in one, 3 in the other 2, but he's allowed a home run in each game with 2 home runs in the middle game. Struck out 5 and walked 3 in one, struck out 6 and walked 5 in one, and then struck out 5 and walked 0 in his first start. That was against the White Sox. Fairly dangerous Texas team showing a lot of power upside. It's a 4 corners game in this one, I think. Or no, excuse me. It's a 3 corners. I'm interested in Angels bats, Rangers bats, and Yusei Kikuchi. Cubbies at the Padres. Padres on a ridiculous win streak at home. I think they're looking for 12 straight at home, which would tie a ancient MLB record. They're going up against Shota Imanaga, though, making his 5th start of the season, looking pretty solid in his own right. He went 7 plus in 2 starts already this season. Just 5 in his last game, had his bumpiest start of the year in his most recent game, but a very solid option going up against an overachieving, so far in my opinion, Padres lineup with a superstar, A-, B+ Manny Machado, B- Xander Bogaerts, missing Jackson Merrill, and then a bunch of spare parts and Luis Arraez, who has gone deep twice before May for the first time in his career. But it's an overachieving Padres team right now, in my opinion. They're good. I'm not saying they're not. But I like the Imanaga side of this one. And then the Cubs are coming up at 4.45 implied runs. They're going up against Randy Vasquez, who is a gettable enough pitcher for that excellent Cubs offense. So definitely interested in some Cubbies. They're only ranked out in like the middle of the board, though, if I'm remembering the stacks board correctly. Hopefully the thought there, maybe you get them a little bit sneakier than they ought to be. And then we round things off with the Dodgers looking ridiculous. Again, 5.47 implied runs. They're going up against Ryan Feltner. It's the Dodgers. You don't overthink that spot. Landon Knack is on the mound for the Dodgers. He's got the Rockies down at a 3.15 implied total. That's more about the Rockies being terrible than it is about Landon Knack being good at all. We're showing a little bit of power upside around some of those interesting Rockies bats. I hate to say it. I was tempted to make Michael Talia the home run pick of the day. I was tempted around a couple other guys, but I didn't do it because I think Detroit is a much more interesting, maybe underappreciated stack option here for DFS with more quality bats than going to the Rockies on the road. So I didn't want to lead people in that direction with the home run pick, but I do think there's some interesting options there. Pitching board, some obvious options up at the top. Like I said, Jack Flesch standing up by a couple of points over the board kind of surprised me this morning when I put it together, but he's been pitching well. I've always been a fan. I've always had him in high regard and would expect him in a lot of other years to have been right around this level. It wouldn't have surprised me kind of like it did today, just because there's so much negative buzz around this pitcher for some fair reasons as far as like the makeup of the pitches, but that's always been the case with him, and he's always made it work. He's been excellent for a number of years now. So no issues with it. I left it alone. I didn't try and pull him down or anything. 10K, 9,000, especially on DraftKings for only 9,000 against the gettable enough Milwaukee team with some legitimate talent at the top of the lineup, but a lot of underwhelming. We talked about it, I think yesterday, or maybe it was Friday, with that team kind of resembling Toronto in a lot of ways, where it's just like, after you get it to a certain point, it's just not really that appealing. So tons of upside for Jack Flesch, and if you can get him at lower ownership, maybe than he ought to be. It's going to depend on where other places have him projected. I didn't get a chance to check. Hunter Brown, 10.5, 10,000, as discussed in the breakdown a second ago. Very talented young pitcher, gives you depth. Love the upside, but we'll give that St. Louis team at least a little bit of credit for putting bat on ball. Max Fried's interesting, but that KC lineup is definitely good. They're low strikeout. He's fairly low strikeout. So I don't know what the DFS ceiling beyond that median projection looks like, but I would expect, 6 clean innings out of Max, or maybe it's 5 2/3, depending on what Boone does and what that 6th inning looks like. But Max will pitch probably into the 6th. come away with 3 to 5 strikeouts most days and maybe a tiny bit of upside for more. What we're looking for is clean innings, keep the ball on the ground. He's very capable of that. That said, 10-2, that FanDuel price against a really good Royals team, weather warming up a little bit in the Bronx. It's 67 degrees here in Jersey City. I don't know that I love it at the FanDuel price. 9.5 is at least more reasonable. I feel like he's like a 9.5 FanDuel pitcher, but you do get a decent shot at the quality start with Max. Springs at 9.4 on FanDuel. I think you're definitely willing to pay that against a terrible White Sox team. He's got plenty of upside for K's against that team and just in general. So I think we can go there at 9.4, and that price on DraftKings at 8.2. Very, very appealing. You probably like that more than Yusei Kikuchi for 78, even though they share similar strikeout upside. That's just a product of the opponent. Kikuchi going up against Texas, a lot more trouble from the Texas lineup potentially than from that White Sox lineup. So I think I would pay the extra couple bucks for Springs if I'm doing, one lineup there. But you also have Tyler McGill at 7,900, and McGill against the Twins, I think, is a much more interesting conversation because there's enough talent there. That is a higher danger lineup than Chicago, but I think that $300 discount, there's enough there with Tyler McGill where I can buy the upside. I maybe don't see quite as much downside around losing so many hitters. So that's an interesting back and forth. But that 3-man right there, I think you can go to any of those guys. Kikuchi just is the least safe, the least potentially the most upside, but definitely the least safe. On FanDuel at 86, he's the most interesting, which kind of sucks because he's definitely going to walk 6 guys and give up 3 home runs to this team. McGill, again, at 9,000 on FanDuel, very much interested in that price, but this is where you want to definitely grab him at 79. Schwelly, 10.8, 10.5. Honestly, could have projected out a little bit higher. I wouldn't have been surprised at all to see him, up over his, and again, this is not much daylight between these projections, 1.5 points, but it wouldn't have surprised me to see Schwelly right there. He's that good. Toronto's low strikeout nature is cutting into him slightly, but there's plenty of upside. He could easily punch out a few additional hitters along the way. Kevin Gausman, it's kind of the same thing. There's plenty of Ks in that Braves lineup, but there's definitely plenty of danger as well. 85 is a pretty good price on DraftKings for Kevin Gausman. I think you can consider him an SP1 in that spot. You definitely don't want him really as an SP2 at 85. It's kind of an awkward price fit. So you're probably looking at him as like a cheap SP1 option. If you're building out 25 lineups, you could use him a few times. Ryan Pepio at 7,400 against Boston is really interesting. Very talented pitcher. He's had a little bit of an issue with the home run early this season. It's been a thing for him in years past, but there's tons and tons of talent there. There are strikeouts there. Ballpark's going to be working against all these pitchers, but Pepio is definitely interesting at 74. Less so at 88, but you can see there's big traffic jam of pitchers all projected basically the same there. And then we get into some of these. Knack, plenty of upside at cheap pricing against Colorado. We know how bad that lineup is. Imanaga, it's just a high danger spot against the Padres. They are, the top end of that lineup, as much as I said the bottom end of it is kind of like mix and matchy. Top end of it is elite, and there's a lot of low strikeout guys in that lineup. So maybe not a huge upside day for Imanaga, but he projects out just fine. It's just about how the price works against everybody else. Morton against Cleveland with some strikeouts there, I think on DraftKings at 65. Charlie Morton's actually pretty interesting. 78 on FanDuel with just the one spot. A little bit of a question mark about getting that 6th inning completed. I'm shakier on it on FanDuel. I think there's a lot of value there at 65 on DraftKings, though, because as we've discussed, there are more strikeouts than people think in that Cleveland lineup this year. Bailey Ober is also interesting at 67, given his talent. Like I said, we'll look at it in a minute. The Mets are showing a ton of power upside against, but Bailey Ober's a very, very good pitcher. So that's a cheap price. You can see FanDuel's got him almost 2,000 higher. And that's actually a pretty reasonable price on FanDuel. He's a $9,000 plus pitcher. Just not going great right now. And that's a tough Mets lineup on the other side. And then Molly's pretty much a no. Quinn Priester, we'll give him some discussion when we get to that game, but I'm not really enthused about that spot. Like I said, I like the Tigers bats on the other side. Waka's pretty much a no. Fede, Logan Allen, Walker Buehler, Sean Burke, Feltner, and Vasquez, all pretty much no's. We'll go deeper into those guys as we go. I just don't want to chew too much time talking about that. As we get started, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. That gave some people time to get into the room. Mike, there's only room for one knack in Michael's life, and it's him. Jenna Sandy, what's going on? Did anyone notice Marcus Semion's salary? I know he started slow, but 3,800. I mean, part of that is coming off of last year. It's definitely a down start to this season, but he was also down through most of last year. They're going up against the Angels. But yeah, as Power points out, $4,700 for Corey Seager in this spot. Josh Young at 35, Adolis Garcia at 45. Yeah, those guys are way too cheap. Bargain opportunity. Jake Berger with his power upside at 3,000. A big right-handed bat against Yusei Kikuchi, who again, home run problems. That is Yusei Kikuchi's game. Right now, you can ignore the small sample 5.41. He wrangled it a little bit. This is him in a good year. And I've highlighted this before, 3.40, tons of hard hit on a fly ball trajectory, tons of barrels. So keeping it under 4 is just kind of happenstance because he was good at missing bats a little bit more this year. He's better at missing premium, ultra premium contact. Same thing this year, 386, a little bit higher. That year was a disaster. It looks kind of like his start this season. But there's always been tons of premium contact against the pitcher. When he's losing guys to walks, there's tons of just upside for sequencing. So, yeah, there's a lot of upside. Vegas sees it at 4.43 implied runs. That Semien price is way low, but you can see it in, just underneath the back of the baseball card numbers. The 249 xWOBA tells you that there's a lot going on there that, kind of does justify the dip. What you cling to with Semien is that he's just going to remain pretty elite as far as putting bat on ball. 19.4% strikeouts is small sample. He's more like this 14.6 that he's put up over the last couple of seasons. And then you just hope that the quality comes through a little bit via the frequency of bat on ball. But we only had him at 23 homers, 237, 308, 391 last year. The ISO dipped down to 154, 99 WRC plus. So we've probably lost a step. We're at, let's see. What is he at? 30, 34? 34. 34 and a half. So out of everybody in like this group, it's probably the most justified, but it's also an overreaction low. And they've gone way low with everybody. FanDuel's also got them fairly cheap. Getting that top 4 on FanDuel for $3,100 a piece is great. If you want to take, probably I would go there and take Young out of it and put Berger in at first base for 26. And now you're saving a little bit at, technically 3,000. They've also got a great catcher option. We'll come back to this team and we'll talk it through, but this is a really interesting stack. As I said before, I'm interested in these bats because you can see some power creeping through here against Tyler Mahle. I'm interested in Kikuchi for the price, and I'm interested in those Rangers bats big time, but I think they're going to be popular. But let's rewind, start at the beginning of the slate. What do you say? As I was going to say, check out rotoscouts.com. That's the website. All these projections are available to you. We got lineups in? We did. I'll grab those while I talk. All these projections are available to you. You get the individual player marks in the home run model for each guy. You get their individual projections. You get my top stack rankings, my home run picks. You also get access for the same under $1 a day price on a weekly, monthly, or quarterly plan. You also get NBA projections all the way through the playoffs. Projections are live right now for tonight. You get NHL projections for the last couple days of the regular season and all the way through the playoffs. Those will be live after this show. All right, those are the only 2 that got confirmed. So 2 more lineups are in. So check out rotoscouts.com. acemine.io is also our sim and optimization partner. Promo code rotoscouts gets you 20% off your first month over with those guys. They've got baseball, basketball, football, optimizers, and sim tools, and some of the best pricing in the industry over there as well. acemine.io. Give them a look too. Hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Michael Wacha, 7,100, 8,000, 17.5% strikeout rate over his first 15 innings. That's not all that good. 4.20 ERA with a 5.14 xFIP. He's better than that, but he's very average. 3.35 ERA, but a 4.14 xFIP last year tells the story. 21.2% Ks to 6.6% walks. That's what I mean. Both of those are average-ish type numbers. It's fine. It'll get you through if you're somebody's fifth starter, fourth starter, eat some innings. He made 29 starts. 10.4% swinging strikes is okay. Get you by, but 26.2% CSW is not enough overall strike throwing. He doesn't have great stuff via stuff plus. He's 91 last year. He's actually up by 5 points so far this year, but he's allowed some more premium contact. He's gotten away with it. Hasn't allowed a couple, all that many home runs. We're at 1.59 this year. Last year, he was at 2.48% home runs. That's just one homer over the first three starts. That came in the last game against the Twins. He went 5 1/3 in that one, 2 earned, gave up the homer, struck out 4, walked 3. Struck out 5, walked 1 over 5 2/3 against the Orioles, but gave up 4 on 6 hits. It's a very Michael Wacha-esque start to the season, but the strikeouts being down, the swinging strikes being down in the small sample, the stuff being up is kind of in defiance of that. So we'll see where it goes, but there's nothing that really draws us to Michael Wacha unless you just want to chase the idea that sometimes you can catch these Yankees off balance and pick up some additional strikeouts. They are at a 26.1% rate so far this year, 24.1% for this collection of hitters last year. Teen Wolf was on. It's just ending the credits over there. Caught my eye. I thought it was the scene at the basketball game where the guy pops up with his thing out through his zipper. Weird little scene. You can't really see it. It's in the background. It's one of those things that people notice years later, like, wait, does that guy? So, Max Fried, 9,500, 10-2. Like I said, I don't love the 10-2 on FanDuel. Max Fried is very, very good. He doesn't walk very many hitters. He's more than capable of striking guys out. He limits home runs. He limits power. But he's not a big-time strikeout pitcher. 23.2% last year. 25.7 was decent the year before that. 23.2 the year before that one. So far this year, he's at 26.9 in a small sample, 17 1/3. Did go 7 in his last game and struck out 11 against the Tigers. 5 hits allowed, no runs allowed. It was a great outing. That was his best one of the season. 6 strikeouts in the game before that. He allowed 6 hits, but only 1 earned run on a solo homer. He walked 1 over 5 2/3 at Pittsburgh. Should have gotten that last out. That's what I'm talking about with Boone, though. You can get those games where starter gets in any trouble in the 6th inning, and Boone has a very quick hook in the 6th. So that can cut into quality start upside, but Fried is very good at pitching for depth. So I trust him immensely. I think it's a okay spot for him. So far this season, this Royals lineup is striking out at 22.9%, but overall this group last year, 18.7, year before 21.4. Let's call it around 20-ish%. So low strikeout team against a medium strikeout pitcher. We might see a more limited strikeout version of Max Fried today, which does cut into the DFS upside, but a very solid quality start here is definitely in the cards. 95, I think you're willing to pay for that on DraftKings. FanDuel, it's a little harder at 10-2. There's a lot of options on this board. I don't really see the appeal of the Royal stack all that much today, though. You're going to really have to get them grinding and sequencing because Fried misses barrels. He keeps the ball down. So far this year, 4.6 degree average launch. Last year, it was just a 3 degree. Year before, 4.8. This is an attribute in the ongoing sense for Max Fried. He's excellent at limiting home runs, keeping the ball in the yard. Yankee Stadium obviously works against him in that department. Any fly ball can get out of Yankee Stadium, but he really does not allow too much to travel in that on that kind of a trajectory. So, like the upside enough for Fried that you can play him more so on DK. And if we're talking Royals, we are looking at guys like India with his ability to just get on base a couple of times, but he's not going to really be able to exploit the walks from Max Fried. So you kind of take that out of the equation. It limits the upside for India. He's cheap. He's a decent click if you're going to this team. You put him at a Bobby Witt, Vinny Pasquantino, who had a great segment on Central this morning. Witt is obviously one of the best players in the league. You just include him when you go to this team. He's one of the top shortstop options on any given slate. 58, 4,000. Easy to pay for. 317, 397, 508 to start his year of 427 xWOBA. Tremendous. He hits the ball extremely, extremely hard. He's the only guy who came through. I think he had 2 hits yesterday. The rest of this lineup got shut down by Carlos Carrasco. Pasquantino for just 44 is way too cheap, though. Even against Max Fried, even lefty. If you're going to this team, he's still a priority bat. That's getting a big discount on Max Fried's talent. He's not doing that great over 66 plate appearances at 207, 288, 379. Part of his interesting segment on Central this morning, he was talking about it. Did a lot of upper body work in the offseason, and it resulted not necessarily taking dry swings to try and increase bat speed or anything like that, but it resulted in a big uptick in his bat speed. And he's saying it's actually wreaking a little bit of havoc on his swing right now. And he made an example of, he said, I ripped in last night's game. They're in Yankee Stadium, so he was over here in Jersey for the show. So he's in the studio. I ripped a 108-mile-an-hour liner that way yesterday, which does me nothing. The field's over there. It's obviously a foul ball because he was so far ahead of it because his bat speed's up so much that he's like, I'm not sure if it's, if it's adjustments I need to make in where my timing is because of the enhanced bat speed, or if it's something where, maybe we just focus on not getting to that degree of bat speed and slowing the swing back down a little bit. So kind of caught in between. Interestingly, it was really interesting to hear him talking about it this morning. So at least we've got a little bit of an explanation for the little dip in numbers in a incredibly small sample that means nothing. He's an excellent hitter. Power upside for sure, but what we love about Vinny is he just puts bat on ball. He's elite at not striking out, drives in a ton of runs for this team. Sal Perez with a ton of power upside, 4.90 in the home run model, is second on this team. You definitely want Sal, particularly a catcher on DraftKings for 4,000 if you're going to this squad. But again, not a great day to be looking at Royals. You're going to need sequencing, and you're going to need somebody to get lucky with a Max Fried making a mistake that they can drive. But Sal would be one of those guys. Hunter Renfroe, mix and match right-handed power bat with a total lack of power so far this season, a .026 ISO, a 214 xWOBA. Pretty terrible start to the season for Renfroe. We know there's power there, but it's been on the decline over the last 2 seasons plus. So nothing to get excited about, just a mix and match guy in a bad spot for his skill set. Michael Massey, Pascantino mentioned that he's the funniest player on the team. I guess he's got that going for him. But right now, 186, 210, 237 with a 233 XWO, but not great. He is an interesting lefty bat, but probably not the spot to chase him. Michael Garcia, I've talked a lot about the skill set with the power hopefully going up a little bit so far this season. Knock on wood, at least in the line drive sense. He's hitting the ball very hard when he connects. 2 homers and a stolen base so far. 349 xWOBA, but just a 298 on base. Really needs to push that on base ability a little bit so that he can exploit his extreme speed upside. Drew Waters and Freddie Furman. Furman's a mixable catcher. He does have a very strong hit tool. 2,000 is a good enough price to just make things work as an apple box if he's in the lineup at all, which probably will be. But there's not a ton of upside here for the bottom of the Royals. On the Yankee side, we have the confirmed lineup on the board. Aaron Judge at a 15.28, but notably everybody else a couple points below the magic number in the home run model. The closest to it is actually Ben Rice, 8.58, and backing up everything about people who liked his talent. 5 home runs on the board, a 380 ISO, a 491 xWOBA, making better, arguably, contact than Judge. 25% barrels versus 25.6, but he's got 66.7% hard hits versus Judge's 60.5. Obviously, this is not Aaron Judge. He's not Giancarlo Stanton, who's going to eventually come into this lineup, and we'll see where things go for other guys. But man, what a start. Lefty bat in Yankee Stadium still somehow only costs $3,800 on DraftKings. They haven't gotten excited about the spot. 33 on FanDuel, still very, very reasonable. And as I've said a few times, if he ever has catcher eligibility on DK, look out. He hasn't been catching, but he has that ability. And they've said they'll stick him back there from time to time. And that might happen when Stanton comes back. Not that you want Austin Wells out of the lineup all that often. Judge is just a must in any stack of Yankees. And with the Yanks over 5, they're going to be drawing some popularity. They're going to be drawing down against a high contact pitcher with all this power in the lineup. Again, on a warming day in the Bronx. Definitely some upside. It made Bellinger the pick of the day from the Yankees. 3,200 on FanDuel, 5,000 on DraftKings. I like the FanDuel price a little bit better. Slow start to the year, 279 xWOB was not great, 52 WRC plus. The only guy below average for run creation so far is the former MVP over 54 plate appearances. Give him a little time to get acclimated. I like that bat to heat up in a hurry. 5,000 on DK, though, is a little bit pricey for the current version of Cody Bellinger, but a good lefty against a mediocre righty in Yankee Stadium, you take the upside any day. You can also combine him with Paul Goldschmidt, who conversely is too cheap for his start. 4,400. He's at 367, 409, 500. That bat has come back to life a little bit. 416 ex-Woba to start the year. He's got a home run on the board, 7.12 in the home run model. We're not going to get overly excited about an ancient Paul Goldschmidt right now, but it's nice to see him swinging the bat more like he was in the second half last year than he was in the first half, and he's very cheap at 44, hitting cleanup for the New York Yankees. 2,900 on FanDuel, also a really good price. It's odd that both sites have him lower than both Belly and Jazz, considering the starts that they usually overreact to. Like, look at the difference here and here versus where Paul Goldschmidt's at. And it's not like Paul Goldschmidt is some schlub who's just magically hitting well. Ben Rice. No, Rice actually is decent. He's got a very strong skill set that would suggest that he could keep up a high power, high when he makes contact. It's destructive contact, but a lot of things around it are going to dip. He's not going to hit 300, for example. But anyway, continuing on, Jazz Chisholm. Now that the weather's warming back up, I expect Jazzy to heat back up. 6 home runs on the board, 4 stolen bases. I think one of those came last night, right? Did he have 6 yesterday or did he have 5? I forget. Yankees hit, I think, 4 solo home runs yesterday. Rice had one. Forget who else. Wells has 4 home runs on the, or excuse me, Volpe has 4 home runs on the board. Wells has 3. They're both low end in terms of their ability to get on base, their ability to do much sequencing, but there's tons and tons of power there. You get Wells on the left side for a cheap catcher bat at 4,100, 51.4% hard hit so far, at 301 xWOBA with a 113 WRC plus. Volpe actually holding down a 334 xWOBA so far. Suggests that there's more upside in the slash line to come. 211, 313, 474 kind of defies that, but 4 home runs, 263 ISOs right in line with it. 126 WRC plus for the shortstop so far. 4,800 gets up there for Anthony Volpe. 33, same thing on FanDuel. That's, 33, 35, 48, 5,000 is about as much as I want to pay for that player, but he can pay that off from time to time. Jason Dominguez dropping down to the 8 spot, 4,400, 2,700. Probably more interesting for the FanDuel price. 229, 327, 375 with a 286 actual, but needs to get things in gear. But he at least has been a productive run creator, 108 WRC plus, keeping him alive here right now. 10.9% walk rate. So he's getting on base a little bit, 327 on base, stolen 2 bags, but that bat needs to heat up. I expect it will. That's his skill set. And then Ozzy Peraza at the bottom of the lineup, 3,200, 2,200 on FanDuel with 3 position eligibility. Not completely uninteresting. 10% barrels, 50% hard hits in a small sample over 16 plate appearances. 1 home run on the board. 295 xWOBA flies in the face of the idea that any of this contact is real. But once upon a time was one of their more highly regarded infield prospects. So you give him a chance, it's better than having Pablo Reyes or Oswaldo Cabrera at that spot. This goes Yankees bats, Max Fried, Royals bats. Probably no Michael Wacha. I don't think he's necessarily cheap enough over here that you really want to target the Yankees on a deep slate. Doesn't look like any of these confirmed lineups are for this slate. Couple of early games today, too. Red Sox and the Rays. Power, that sounds like a dynamite combination to me, man. McGill and Schwelly. Love it. We'll get there. But you're getting right now tons of stuff plus. 2 of the better stuff plus marks on the entire slate. So love it. Thank you, Jenna. Jenna says the Lev Terry show is very in-depth and also recommends who and how to construct a stack based on the team. Watch every day. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's what we try and get into. John Bryan says it's DNA from Discord. Thank you so much for your shows. How in-depth you get. Really appreciate it. Yeah, thanks, buddy. Appreciate all of you guys. What about Discord? Does subscription include Discord? Discord is free to all. There's actually a link in the description of this show. I thought to actually drop links in there. Hopefully that actually worked. Click that link. If it's not there, just let me know. But Discord's open, free to all. Jump on in, stir the pot a little bit, share your opinions. A lot of gifts going around in there, back and forth with people who've known each other in Discords across the industry for years now. But a lot of good info going back and forth in there as well. I try and provide anything I can, that's as far as changes, thoughts about lineups or, anything interesting going into lock. A lot of times you get frantic while basketball was still going on, but now we'll have nice, peaceful approaches to lock for the most part. I don't think we're really considering Walker Buehler, not with the Rays at a 4.79, not with this park in play. Not with his current form. 15 and 2/3. He's got a 20.9% strikeout rate. He hasn't really walked anybody, just a 3% walk rate. 7 strikeouts in the last one. He walked 1, 6 1/3 against Toronto. He gave up just 1 earned on 4 hits. First 2 games, 4 earned and 5 earned runs, just 4 strikeouts and 3 strikeouts. So you like to see the step forward from a guy who at one point was one of the better pitchers in the National League. I just think it's a bit of a stretch throwing him against a couple of these good lefties who are kind of rolling for power upside with the way that lefty power is playing in this park, with the way Vegas is seeing it on a deep slate. 83 on FanDuel doesn't really play at all for me. 75 on DraftKings, it's probably not cheap enough. If he was even 500 less, if he was sitting there staring at me at 7,000, just the name on the on the screen on the back of the jersey would at least be tempting to try and pitch here. You can see the 3.35 xFIP, just the 3% walk rate underneath that 5.74 ERA that we don't really care about. He's given up a few long balls there, some barrels in play, but not many hard hits or exit velo. Just a 9.9 degree average launch, just 8.3% swinging strikes. There's good and bad that you could pick out here. I think the better approach here is to just shy away because his ceiling doesn't truly right now rival most of the other guys on this slate, and especially not in this park in this matchup. Ryan Pepiot, though, especially here at that price, is interesting. And it seems weird to say that in light of, he's at 21 point, and he's 1 percentage point more on strikeouts. He's walked 3 times as many hitters so far this year. His ERA is the same as the xFIP on the other guy. His xFIP is a full, almost a run higher. He's a 1.5 whip. What we like about Pepiot is the strikeout ability, the ability to induce whiffs, 13.6% swinging strike rate, stuff plus obviously there at 103, a little bit above the mark. Last year he was pitching at 116. So we've got a lot of room to grow back to what last year's arsenal fully looked like. That put him at a 26.3% strikeout rate. He does allow fly balls, power, high home run trajectory, 9.1%, barrels on a 19.1 degree average launch. There is some exit velocity there. Not problematic in the hard hits and exit velo, but it does result in home runs from time to time if he makes mistakes. 4.40 in just 42 innings. Some relief work, some starts back in 23. Full-time starter last year, 26 outings, 130 innings pitched, 3.15. Not problematic, but it does put a little bit of power on the board. He's not a power suppressor of a pitcher. And so far this year, it's gotten away from him a little bit in his first 2 outings. 3 home runs allowed to the Angels in that, I think that was the crazy upside game where it was the first day it was hot in this ballpark. Pretty sure that was that game. 3 home runs to the Angels, struck out 5, walked 3. 1 home run allowed against Pittsburgh, struck out 3, walked 3. His best outing of the year so far was his first one. That was against Colorado of all teams. 8 strikeouts, 1 walk, 1 earned run. You can't really take much from doing that against Colorado, but we know for sure that Pepiot is better than what the numbers have looked like so far this year. It is a dangerous Red Sox team on the other side, though. We've got a 4.3 implied total against. There is power showing against. Rafi Devers over the magic number. Several guys in the 7s and the 8s. Several elite lefties who might be underperforming Tristan Casas right now. So I can see the downside for Ryan Pepiot as well, but that price on DraftKings at 74 is really appealing, and he projects out just fine. Same thing on FanDuel, 88. It's not nearly as appealing as it is on DraftKings, but the 88 makes him very playable on FanDuel. So a lot of upside for Pepiot for sure, but a high danger spot. And those high danger hitters, Rafi Devers following Jarren Duran, whose name I was trying to say. Duran's off to a weak start. 291 xWOBA to start the season, 230, 284, 297, but he's stolen 5 bases. He is hitting the ball hard when he's making contact. 9.1% barrels and 50.9% hard hits. Barrels are exact match for last year. Hard hits are actually up in the small sample. Ks are up a little bit, walks are down a little bit. All of that I expect to fully even out. Jarren Duran's too good for a slump to be too prolonged. Right now, we just need him to get on base a little bit ahead of Rafi Devers and help create some runs. That's been part of the Red Sox problem. Devers at just 49, still too cheap on DraftKings. FanDuel bounced him back to where he belongs at 36, but he could go higher. 1 home run on the board, 327 xWOBA, very average start to his season, 94 WRC+, 224, 338, 343. We're fine. I know that over the first, when he was just not swinging hard for whatever reason, over the first 5 games of the season, I was in a little bit of panic mode because literally he was up there just half-efforting swings. That's kind of gone away. Now we're at a 17.1% barrel rate, 58.5% hard hits. I fully expect Rafi Devers to get engaged with this season and be totally fine. Alex Bregman is kind of already there. We've dipped a little bit in the slash line over the last couple of games. It'll come and go, obviously, early in the season. But 274, 325, 438, a very solid 331 xWOBA to start the year, creating runs 15% better than average. He's hit 2 homers. He's got a 50% hard hit rate. Strikeouts are up from 13.6 last year to 22.5 in the small sample, walked slightly down. I do expect that'll balance back to the 12 to 14% range that we've seen him in typically. It's Alex Bregman. There's a lot of upside, and you get him at second base on DraftKings for 5,000, so they eliminate the positional conflict for you. Third base for both guys on FanDuel is not ideal, but you can make it work given the util spot. It does unbalance this team a little bit because I want cheap Tristan Casas in there, and then I'm going to want a lot of guys from corner infield spots from other teams as I'm creating my second stack, because you get most of the, or at least a lot of the high upside players play one of the 2 corner infield spots. So it throws them off balance a little bit, but it does get you 3 high-end bats from the Red Sox, and then you just deal with it with whatever team you're putting them together with. But thinking through like the combinatorics of where they land and who they can be combined best with, it is a little bit of a limiting factor to have them both play third on FanDuel. Willie Abreu, 4,800, 3,100, a very high-end left-handed bat. Last year, 10.8% barrels and 49.8% hard hits. This year, pushed it up so far to 12.8 and 53.8. He's off to a 333, 455, 574 start. The xWOBA sitting at 410 is elite, 185 WRC plus, 3 homers on the board. Willie Abreu is just good. People got to realize it. Still a little bit cheap on DraftKings and FanDuel, actually. Trevor Story at 42, 3,000. Given the start that he's off to, we got to start giving him credit for being Trevor Story. He's just been mostly missing over the last few years. And then we never really got to see what the full seasons away from Coors look like. But at this price at 4,200, right now over 71 healthy plate appearances, he's at 304, 324, 464, 322 xWOBA is right in line with that production, a 122 WRC plus. He's hit 3 homers. More to the point, he's stolen 6 bases. The fact that they're letting him run and that he's doing it successfully suggests to me that he is, knock on wood, flat out healthy right now. And he's producing. 3,000 on FanDuel is very reasonable if you're going to this team. 4,200 on DraftKings is great. 35 for Tristan Casas is just dumb. 27 on FanDuel, same thing. His talent is too great to be priced this low. He's got major upside on any given slate. 8.38 in the home run model. They're doing you a big favor by pricing this hitter at this price. You just include him when you're stacking this team. Lefty bat in this ballpark with the weather warming up. If Pepio's got that home run bugaboo going, forget it. Major upside for Tristan Casas. Yeah, this has been a bad start. Yes, his xWOBA was only at 269. I get it. It's been an ugly start to the year. This is a true left-hand power bat, though. 13 homers in 243 last year with a 222 ISO. Year before, 24 homers in 502 with a 226 ISO. That was his first full season in the league. I mean, the kid is really good. Just been in and out of the lineup a little bit. Not at the start of this season, but in the last 2 seasons. But he should never be this cheap. Christian Campbell is probably a little bit too cheap at 4,000, second base on DraftKings, 2,900 second base and outfield on FanDuel. He's got 3 home runs on the board early in his rookie campaign, a stolen base, a 384 xWOBA with a 175 WRC plus. Kid's really good. They should probably have priced him up. It's weird how they react to some guys and don't react to other guys. 4,000 is great price. 2,900 also a great price. Blake Sabol, Sedan Rafaela, mix and match pieces down lineup. So Sabol just really cheap at catcher, where you need the position on DraftKings. If you're going to this team a bunch, you can work him in. He's hit the ball hard a couple times. Let's see what it really looks like. Sedan Rafaela was good for counting stats last year, but no consistency whatsoever. He's cheap, but he's cheaper on FanDuel and he plays 3 positions over here. You probably want him more on FanDuel than you do on DK. On the Rays side, Johnny Diaz delivered a home run yesterday, I want to say, as part of that outburst. Pretty sure one of those 3 came yesterday, maybe 2 of them. 182 ISO, 93 WRC plus to start his season. The 320 xWOBA is in line with where it should be, probably a little bit low, honestly. 14.3% strikeout rate, 4.3% walk rate. The Ks are right where you want them. The walks are down a little bit in the small sample. The on base is atrocious for this hitter. He is a much better on base option than 257. Great table setter with a little bit of power, hitting ahead of Brandon Lau, one of the better power hitting second basemen in the league, taking shots from the left side against Walker Buehler, who, again, despite the good outing in his last start, remains to be seen if there's much left here for Walker Buehler. Stuff plus would suggest there's not. He's given up some home runs. So I love the upside for Brandon Lau, 8.89 in the home run model. We're not over the magic number, but we're also not necessarily fully crediting this ballpark for how it's going to play yet. So remains to be seen. But I like that Brandon Lau spot for 48, 3,000. High priority bat. If you're going to this team, 13% barrels to start his year. Junior Caminero at 9.3% barrels and 46.5% hard hits. 337 xWOBA with a 150 WRC plus and 4 home runs over 59 plate appearances to start his first full season. What's not to like? 22% strikeouts with 5.1% walks is great. You're getting a ton of good bat on ball there. 8.31 in the home run model. He's only 45 on DraftKings. 28 on FanDuel is even cheaper. Love that option at third base. Jonathan Aranda's great on bat on ball to start the season. 395, 460, 698 to start his year. 474 xWOBA over 50 plate appearances. Only 3,800 from the left side on DraftKings. 28 on FanDuel. You get second base and first base. I don't love the positional conflicts that we're already running into, though. You got 2 first basemen that you want on DraftKings. You've got a guy at either first or second with 2 guys you want at second and first. So you're using that util spot early on this team as well. Does jam up some of the potential combinations if this is the version of the Rays that we get. Christopher Morel mashing at 18.5% barrels. He's hit a home run, 2 stolen bases on the season, a 378 xWOBA, 147 WRC plus. Love the swing. Needs to put consistent bat on ball, and we will have 25 plus home runs at the end of the year if he's putting any kind of consistent bat on ball. Cameron Misner, 3 home runs on the board already this season, a 403 xWOBA for him. He's hitting the ball pretty hard at 8.8% barrels, 50% hard hits, low strikeout rate, so a lot of high-quality bat on ball over 45 plate appearances. Very small sample, but we'll see where it goes for just 3,400, 2,600. You're interested in just the lefty bat against the probably weak righty pitcher. Taylor Walls, Danny Jansen, Jake Magnum to round things out. Mix and match guys. Magnum stole another base. He's got 7 now on the season. As long as he keeps getting on base, he'll keep on being usable. But that is not a major league player. 4,200, 2,600, keeping a spot warm for Chandler Simpson. I guess I got to go Vegas and give it Rays bats, 479. Rays bats, Pepio, Red Sox bats? Maybe. Pepio and Red Sox bats are really, really close. I'll stick with that. Rays bats, Pepio, Red Sox bats. No Walker Buehler for me. Trey's not a fan of Pepio. I am a fan of Pepio. I had him on the hi, Carlos Soto. Good to see you, buddy. I had him on the dynasty team. Traded him away at one point last year. The list of pitchers I traded away last year to end up coming in 4th kills me. Most of them were like 1-year guys. But I had Pepio, traded him away. I had Crochet on a 1-year, traded him away. I had Schwelly on a 1-year, traded him away. It was all to make a run at the end of the season, and we came up short largely because Bryce Harper didn't really hit any home runs. But yeah, man, I had so many good pitchers on that team last year. And right now I have Skeens and Scooble. I could have had Spencer Strider. I'm kind of regretting that since he's back so quick. My first pick, I ended up taking Bryce Miller in our draft with all the keepers in contract. It was the end of the 2nd round. And it was between Miller and Strider. And I was like, Miller, love him, had him on the team last year. And I went that direction, but I was expecting Strider to be back more mid-May than late April. Love that upside for Spencer Strider to be back. And the idea of pairing him with Scooble and Skeens was really appealing now that I think about it. Hey, speaking of not appealing on the mound, Logan Allen, 10 innings, 2 starts, 11% strikeouts with a 15.6% walk rate. Well, that is not how you want your strikeout to walk rate ratio to look. Yeah, exactly. Miller doesn't start with an S. I know. I screwed it up. Yeah, I've been trying to come up with some kind of a clever name. I need like T's, S, K's, like tisk, tisk, kind of a thing, but it doesn't really translate to print all that well because Skeen Scooble. Also want to, you always want to watch how you pair S and S together as you're abbreviating things. That's why having the third S in there would have been pretty handy. But yeah, Logan Allen, I don't think you're going there on the mound at 63-71. Really doesn't seem like there's much there right now. Once upon a time, he was one of their more highly regarded lefties coming up. He was like third in line behind Gavin Williams and somebody else. I forget who. But it hasn't really worked out at the major league level. He's made a couple effective starts over time, but not all that much. Last season, 20 starts, 97 and a third, just 18% Ks, 9.5% walk rate, 84 by stuff plus with a 5+% home run rate. So you can see where the power upside's coming from on that side. Year before that, 24 starts, 125 innings, 22% strikeouts, just a 2.98% home run rate, 3.81 ERA, but a 4.29 xFIP, and put way too many guys on base at a 1.40 whip. So too many opportunities, just gets burnt way too many times as kind of a weak lefty pitcher. So way more interested in Orioles bats. So is that run line at 4.95 implied runs. So we're looking that direction. Guardians on the other side, that's one of the ones that I was saying before, maybe a little bit interesting. Charlie Morton still does have decent strikeout stuff. He's induced a 10.2% swinging strike rate. He struck out 25% of hitters over his 13 innings and 3 starts so far. But as you can see, he's pitching to an 8.78 ERA with nearly a 4x FIP underneath it. The whip has been atrocious. He's walked too many hitters in the small sample, not really throwing that many strikes overall, despite inducing some whiffs. 4.55% on the home runs, and more importantly, tons of exit velo. Guys are just teeing off against him. 17.5% barrels allowed, 62.5% hard hits, 94.7 miles an hour of exit velo. I will remind you that is a very small sample of batted ball events. In the long run, it means nothing, but something that we're looking at right now. Home run allowed in his last game, 4 earned runs allowed over 5 to Arizona. Very good offense, but struck out 4, walked 5. It just makes everything more difficult. Struck out 10 against the Red Sox. There's been a lot of Ks against the Red Sox so far this season. Walked 2, but allowed 2 home runs, 5 earned on 6 hits. Problematic start over 5. First start of the year against Toronto, 3 1/3, gave up 4 over 7 hits, faced 18 hitters, struck out just 3, walked 1. No home run allowed in that one, fortunately, but a lot of hard hit balls, a lot of hits in general allowed. We're talking about, what is that, 17 hits allowed so far this season? It's a lot of hits, it's a lot of runs. Just allowing good contact to be made. So I'm really skeptical about what Charlie looks like right now. But given the uptick in strikeouts in this Guardians lineup at 22% for this group of hitters from a team that, we formerly regarded as very, very good for avoiding strikeouts, for 65, we could throw a few Charlie darts on DraftKings. Only if you're inclined to go that route. Only if you are a bargain hunter type in the 6,000s. I think he's one of the more functional upside plays from that territory. It is in no way safe. It is in no way even a strong recommendation. It's just kind of a mention that that's a fair price for Charlie Morton, this form of Charlie Morton. And he can make some things work for you if you catch him on a good day. You do get a somewhat top-heavy lineup opposing, but I flat out like those top 5 hitters. The bottom 4, though, you can definitely argue will push some upside in Charlie's direction if he can get there. There's a lot to work through up top. So we're way more inclined to go toward Guardians bats, I think, in the full scope of the slate than we are Charlie Morton outside of that DraftKings discount. Let's see if we got this lineup. Nope. Does look like we got a couple along the way. For the Rays, it's Chris Morel 5, Cameron Misner 6, Magnum moves up to 7, Walls 8, and Ben Rortvedt, not much of a hitter at the catcher position, hitting 9. I think that's the only one we did that's not here. Pirates in. So Stephen Kwan in the leadoff spot. Pair of home runs on the board. We saw a little odd outburst of power. Supposedly he's shooting for a little bit more power just in the swing plane from time to time. But 322, 375, 441, basically where we expect him. 337 xWOBA, 142 WRC plus. One of the elite table setters in the league. But you guys know I'm going to say that he needs help from his friends because he does. That's kind of the nature of his game. He's got a couple really good bats behind him. Jose Ramirez, one of the best hitters in baseball, 5,900, 3,900. So far this season in 57 plate appearances hasn't been where we need him, but the 292 ISO, the 4 home runs are nice. 9.5% barrels is kind of in line with what he does out there. He hits more home runs than his quality of contact might suggest. 8.6% barrels, 39.6% hard hits last season, 7% and 40% the year before. Hit 39 home runs last year, hit 24 the year before. It was down a little bit that year, but 39 home runs, 258 ISO coming off of this kind of premium contact kind of defies that. But he is just excellent across the board. 128 WRC plus, despite the 229, 316, 521 start. Carlos Santana, 4,300, 2,600. Good bat on ball skills. The strikeouts are slightly up in a small sample. Walks are exactly where they've been over the last few seasons. I expect the strikeouts to come down. Maybe they'll go up and settle in somewhere in the 18s or so instead of 16s, but he's still very, very good. 11.4% barrels and 45.5% hard hits. We're making better quality of contact back in Cleveland here. Switch hitter for a cheap price. The only issue there is you get the positional conflict with Kyle Manzardo on both sides. On FanDuel, it's lessened because of the util thing, but it's yet another team where you do have to consider what do they combine with because of that? What first baseman from another team am I potentially sacrificing from my second stack? So it is a factor on both sides. But the price on both these hitters is really good. Santana's got 2 home runs on the year. He's got a stolen base. 314 xWOBA is around the average, but creating runs 8% above average. Manzardo's hit the ball very hard. 21.2% barrels. For 46 on DraftKings, I'm interested. 31 on FanDuel, I'm interested. Needs to push up the BABIP probably is what's burning him a little bit here. The 378 xWOBA would suggest that. 196 but a 339 on base, a 522 slug. We don't really care about the batting average. Everything else is fully engaged for this hitter. You just play him. 44% above average so far for run creation. Nolan Jones at just 33.23. Buy the skill set. If you're going to this team already, it's a nice discount. It'll save you money and that you can spend on something from your second stack or on a pitcher upgrade. Nolan Jones went 2020 2 years ago in 450 plate appearances, 424. 297, 2020 season, 389, 542 on the back end of the slash line, at 245 ISO, 135 WRC plus. That was with Colorado. But once he burnt out last year in Colorado, lost his job, didn't play well when he did play, 161 plate appearances, 3 homers, 5 steals. It was pretty bad, 161 plate appearances. Was I on the wrong line there? Sorry, I think it was. Yeah, it was 297. I thought 161 sounded low. 3 home runs, 5 steals in that sample. That's even worse. This 3 home runs, 5 steals match. So 297 plate appearances last year. But he's better than that. He's out of the gate okay for contact. 10.5% barrels, 57.9% hard hits in the limited number of batted ball events. Looking more like the guy from 2 years ago. So I think we could have something underappreciated there, and a lefty against a scuffling righty. I think there's upside. Gabriel Arias, Anel Martinez, Bo Naylor, and Brian Rocchio, I'm a lot less interested in. You get 3 positions on FanDuel for 23 out of both Arias and Anel Martinez. I think between the two, we're taking shots at Arias with the power upside. Just 3 home runs in 161 last year, 10 home runs in 345 the year before. He's got 3 on the board this year, 338 xWOBA, 222 ISO so far to start the season. He's made some pretty good contact in a small sample. So I think you're going there if you need to mine something from the bottom, or if you're on DraftKings, you can pick up Bo Naylor for 25 as a very cheap catcher. You just know that you're probably plugging a 0 or like a 3 into your lineup a lot of times. You need to catch that home run with Bo Naylor, and just 1 on the board in 37 plate appearances. Last season, he had 13 and 389, but you can see the flaws. 201, 264, 350, 74 WRC plus. Rocchio is not much of a hitter. On the Orioles side, we are definitely interested in throwing Orioles bats at Logan Allen. A lot of right-handed power talent. Switch hitting Adley Rutschman is a major option. Gunnar down at 4th, hitting cleanup against the lefty. For a second, I thought he was missing. So far over his 35 plate appearances, Gunnar has stumbled to just 206, 229, 294, just a 278 xWOBA. Half again as bad as the average player for run creation at a 50 WRC plus. Let's give him another 35 plate appearances before we panic. We'll see what that looks like. One of the best hitters in baseball, 3,600, 5,500. Just go there. Just take Gunnar evening lefty-lefty. You don't worry about it against this batting practice pitcher. Jordan Westburg from the top, solid right-handed bat with power upside from second base on DK at 5,100, or you can get him at third. He's got enough pop to justify a third base share, but I like him better at second. 3,200 on either position on FanDuel as well. 3 homers on the year, solid 377 xWOBA to show the upside, 108 WRC plus. Adley off to a good start, 259, 344, 463, a 204 ISO, a 400 xWOBA, 138 WRC plus with 3 homers. The contact is average, 8.7% barrels, 34.8% hard hits, but he doesn't strike out. He draws a ton of walks. So you get either high quality bat on ball or a walk and an opportunity for run creation, correlation down your stack. Tyler O'Neill with major power upside. Only 2 home runs on the board so far this year, but the 397 xWOBA is appealing. The 244 ISO means he's just crushing everything. 19.4% barrels and 44.4% hard hits. The home runs will come as the weather warms, as he gets more opportunities. 47-31. He is too cheap right now. Ryan Mountcastle. I've been talking about it and calling for it since the season started. He's got 1 home run on the board over 50 plate appearances. Got a 348 xWOBA, above average so far. Just a 104 ISO is frustrating for my ongoing point that there is more power here. And it is in complete defiance of an 18.4% barrel rate and a 55.3% hard hit rate. By all logic, he should have 3 home runs and a 200 plus ISO right now, given that contact. Don't know how it hasn't happened. Haven't watched every swing. But it's annoying that he hasn't done what I've been saying he's going to do. I still think he's going to do it, and that contact is helping me believe. 3,900, 2,700 at first base is very cheap against this lefty. Could be a very nice day. Pick off a cheap Ryan Mountcastle low-owned home run at 8.42. Speaking of, Gary Sanchez making an appearance in the lineup, 2,200. I think anybody who's watched this show over the past few years knows that I absolutely adore Gary Sanchez. I think he got a raw deal. He is an elite home run bat. Yes, I mean that. 10.5% barrels, 44.2% hard hits last year, 15.4% barrels and 44.6% hard hits the year before. 11 home runs in just 280 plate appearances with a 171 ISO was just okay last year. 19 home runs in just 267 opportunities with a 275 ISO the year before. Is absolutely mashing. In 471 the year before that, he was just okay at 16 home runs in 471. So the power can come and go from time to time, but it's more about the consistency. The quality of bat on ball has always been tremendous with this hitter. He strikes out way too much. He does not put frequent bat on ball, but the quality of the bat on ball is and can be elite. At 2,200 for a catcher on DraftKings, you play him against this lefty. 2,400 on FanDuel, you can play him against this lefty. Sacrificing Ryan Mountcastle for a share of Gary Sanchez every now and again on FanDuel is perfectly fine at first base. Cedric Mullins, 49-34, 3 home runs on the board this season, 277, 414, more importantly, 553, a solid 385 xWOBA, and creating runs 84% better than average. Mullins, former 30-30 guy, 4,900, 3,400 is not unreasonable to pay, but you can see the dip in power at 5.59 after everybody above him in the lineup is higher than that. Ramon Laureano putting up a little bit higher of a power mark. Nothing to talk about over his 11 plate appearances. Same with Jorge Mateo so far outside of 3 stolen bases. But both of those guys can put DFS stats on the board. Ramon Laureano hits for power. Last season, 12.4% barrels, 40.5% hard hits, 9.7, 35.9 the year before. Resulted in 10 home runs in 300 plate appearances last year. Year before that, 9 home runs in 404. 13 and 11 stolen bases in 383 the year before that. So there's decent counting stat ability there. It's nobody's idea of a superstar. Same thing with Mateo. Mateo's blazingly fast, but he's wildly inconsistent. But on any given slate for dead min pricing, either one of these guys is in play. The fact that you have 3 guys in the low 2000s really helps with building out this Orioles stack because all 3 of them are playable. So let's say you went like obvious first choice. I want O'Neill. I want Westburg. I'll sacrifice the Adley share to get cheap with Gary Sanchez. That's 4. So my 4-man price right now for a stack that includes Jordan Westburg, Tyler O'Neill, Gunnar Henderson, And then Gary Sanchez against Logan Allen is 4,375 a man without clicking my fifth guy. I can't get Adley on a DraftKings stack if I'm using Gary. If I don't use Gary and I go to Laureano, so much the better, and then you just throw Adley in at 52. That's how you build with Adley, right? You just straight line that, and then either one of these guys, honestly. But if you go to the dead min, now you get the top four with Adley in there for 4,500 apiece with a very capable Ramon Laureano for the min. If it's Jorge Mateo, obviously same deal. But if you don't go there and you went like we were doing there, you can go Ced Mullins, obviously, for a very cheap price. It's very tempting to go to Ryan Mountcastle there at 39. And if you do that, you're at just 42.80 a man. And then if you dip down to Ramon Laureano, which it would be a playable version of this, having Sanchez and Laureano, that's not a crazy, ridiculous downgrade against this pitcher. And that brings you down to a $3,900 average for, again, a stack that includes Westberg, O'Neill, and Gunnar. That is really, really appealing how this is set up on DraftKings for a 5-man today. They're going to be popular. 4.95 implied total. They're going to be crazy popular. I think you just swallow the chalk and just go with it because it's too good an upside spot. And the way that comes together is too solid because you can buy an elite 3-man and just differentiate your 3-man or differentiate your pitching combination. That's really interesting on DK. It plays similarly on FanDuel, but it's a little bit less super cheap on the FanDuel site. Right? Like these guys are a couple hundred more than they are over here. So it's not quite the same, and you're only drawing 4 of them. I think it's the idea of stretching out to 5 because you want 3 of these guys if you're doing that, right? So it's less impactful with only 4 options on FanDuel. But it's there. Talk through this one. We talked through that one. This is pretty firmly Orioles bats, Guardians bats. Charlie Morton on DraftKings. I'm really reluctant to say that. I don't think you get there, but the price is right. No Logan Allen. Ricky Lee, what's going on, buddy? Ricky says Terry just loves Gary because he used to play for the Yankees. Not untrue. I never wanted him to go. Chris Hernandez says, you killed me with Framber yesterday. Had everything else right. Framber killed you with Framber yesterday. I had very little to do with it. Everything I said about Framber was accurate and true. He just didn't work out. Take your complaints to Mr. Valdez. But yeah, unfortunate start by Mr. Framber Valdez last night. Sorry about that one. Sorry that didn't work out for you, Chris. I promise we'll hit more of those than we miss all season. Austin Wells versus Gary Sanchez. Give me Gary. In if you're talking about for DFS tonight in these matchups, give me Gary. If you're talking about for real life catching going forward for the New York Yankees, give me Austin Wells. That's a no-brainer. Wells is a much better catcher than Gary ever was. And he's got good power and he's a lefty and he's young and Gary's aging. Yeah, for the Yankees for the next decade? No, it's easily Austin Wells. Gary's like 34 now? 32. So, yeah, that's a no-brainer. Kevin Gausman coming off a monster strikeout performance after we were worried about the strikeouts going down over the last year over year. Highlighted it the other day, 21.4% down from 31.1% year over year last year, and was off to a slow start over his first 2. In his second start of the year, he struck out 0, which was kind of the concern. He had struck out 4 in his first start over 6 innings. Came out, went 8 against Boston at Fenway, allowed 1 unearned run on 4 hits, and struck out 10 while walking 0. Definitely at least helps allay some of those concerns, but over the 19 innings, we're still only at a 20.6% strikeout rate, including that outing. So you got to take that into consideration as well. You take the bad with the good, but at least it's a good indicator. At least he's got stuff plus back where it belongs over the mark, 103.25. No real problems in the home run department, but a little bit of premium contact allowed on a fly ball trajectory could always be problematic. Something to watch. Probably some happenstance in the small sample just being at 2.94. He was at 2.65 last year, though, 2.49 the year before that. So it's not unfamiliar territory with some good premium contact allowed both of those seasons as well as on a fly ball trajectory. So That's where you can run into trouble with Gausman from time to time, is all that contact that he allows. And if you get him with lower strikeout stuff, then it becomes concerning. You can see the numbers overall for the season: 9.7% swinging strikes, 22% CSW. Not great results, but we got to give him time, especially given that most recent start. 8,591. What I don't think we need to do is chase him against the Atlanta Braves. There's plenty of power on the Braves side that could exploit all that hard contact. I don't love the upside there. They do strike out a ton, though, 26.4%. So you are leaving a decent strikeout option potentially on the table. But I don't think you need to chase Gausman here at those prices. Everybody on the board basically projects out, all the good pitchers anyway, right in the range that he's at. I don't know that I want to draw down against the Braves here. Spencer Schwellenbach, though, 10-5, 10-8, I'm interested in paying for. 26% strikeout rate over his first couple. You can see where we're at with stuff plus, nearly a 110, 0.45 ERA against a 2.42 xFIP, a 0.65 whip, 15.2% swinging strikes, up in the small sample from 13.6 last year. Stuff plus is up pretty significantly. Hasn't really allowed much in terms of premium contact. The launch angle is down at just 4.8 degrees so far, 12.8 last year, with no real barrels allowed, no home run issues. Pitched at just a 4.8% walk rate. He was excellent for strikeout to walk ratio. Really, really like this righty. The Blue Jays are a low strikeout squad, 17% so far this year for the projected version of the Blue Jays lineup. The same group of hitters last year, top 8 anyway, 14.8%. There's a couple small samples in there, though. Guys with fair samples, 15%. So it is a low strikeout club. But you get, as we've talked about, basically every slate they've been on so far this year, it's a three-man lineup. You know, it's these two, Bichette, assuming that the start is real, and then whatever Andres Jimenez gives you, and then is really pretty weak the rest of the way. So Schwelly gets through a couple hitters up top, and you can strike out Santander easily. Easily is the wrong word to use. You can strike out Anthony Santander. You got to be careful about the power upside, but there's definitely K's in play there. And then you pick up a couple, I think, against the back end, just by virtue of them not being overly solid hitters. Even if he's just inducing ground ball outs and pitching clean innings, I think we've got a solid option for depth. I think we've got an excellent shot at the quality start on FanDuel where it matters. 6 innings and a quality start in each of his first 3. He's given up 1 earned run all season. That came in his last game. That was against Philly. 6 innings, 1 earned run on 7 hits. He struck out 5. He walked 2. The earned run came on a home run. 8 innings against Miami, struck out 10, walked 0, 2-hitter. 6 innings, 1 hit allowed against San Diego at San Diego, where they've been red hot. Struck out 4, walked 1, no runs allowed. He's elite. Spencer Schwellenbach is elite. So the price is right. He is a little further down the board. He's not at the very top of it. As I mentioned at the top of the show, he does take a little bit of a haircut on the Blue Jays' ability to limit the Ks. That's the only thing you lose in comparison to maybe a couple of guys at the top of the board. But I think the ceiling exceeds the ceiling probably on like a Max Fried, because his stuff is good enough to find a few bonus Ks against this Blue Jays team. If you're going to bats in this one, I greatly prefer the Braves against Kevin Gausman. But same as I said about Gausman not being a priority for me because of the Braves, I'll go back the other way and say that I don't think the Braves are really a priority because of Kevin Gausman. I'll give him enough respect for that. But between the two things, gun to my head, I'm taking the Braves bats. Love the power upside. Austin Riley, 2 home runs yesterday, 7.89 in your home run model today. He's got 4 on the season and looking a whole hell of a lot more like Austin Riley now. 288, 329, 530, a 377 xWOBA. His creator runs 39% better than average. Matty Olson for just 4,500, 3,000. You just ignore the entire triple slash, basically. You ignore the 105 ISO. Focus on the 416 xWOBA. Focus on the 17.8% barrels, the 60% hard hits so far in his batted ball events. Matt Olson will be fine. That home run number might be a little bit low given the contact that Kevin Gausman can allow. Love the pricing on Olson, if nothing else. Murph hit, did he hit 2 yesterday? Or did he just hit 1? I think he hit 1. 4th of the season in only 26 plate appearances. I talked about the great start after coming back from the injured list yesterday, and he went out and hit us a home run. 429 xWOBA in the tiny sample. I like the power upside to continue. He's very, very cheap for a power hitting catcher at 4,200 on DraftKings. 29, you can play him not instead of Olsen, but in tandem with Olsen on FanDuel. But again, you're occupying first base and Utah with that. Ozzie Albies down lineup 44-31. 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases on the board, a 328 xWOBA, 112 WRC plus. Doing Ozzie Albies things, but not really standing out to the degree that he can. But it's good to see that we're within reach of his typical numbers. It's not a bad start after kind of a down season, a season in which he missed like 200 plate appearances, maybe more. I skipped over Michael Harris for no good reason at the top of the lineup. 4,000 on DraftKings, cheap at 27 on FanDuel. Really interesting there. Lefty bat against Gausman. 2 home runs, 2 steals, underperforming everything else. 296 xWOBA is not all that encouraging. A 57 WRC plus. Michael Harris just flat out is better than that. So assuming he's hitting first, you could definitely go there in tandem with Riley Olsen Murphy off the top. If he's hitting down lineup, I think he makes a very effective wraparound play from down there, given what the skill set is. It's just a rough start, but he's a very good 20-25 home run stolen base type guy. Brian De La Cruz for 24-25. You're buying decent line drive ability, pretty good bat on ball. 20-something home runs last year. Was it 19? I think it was 21 in 622 plate appearances. So far this year, he's come up pretty empty over 46, but he does have a 50% hard hit rate, 7.7% barrels in his tiny sample of batted ball events. For those prices, that's pretty good contact to buy. Kelnick, 9.5% barrels. Ignore everything else, except maybe that 1 home run. We're just going on faith and low price with Jared Kelnick at this point. I love the skill set. I love the barrels that he's put up in each of his small samples or medium samples in the major leagues. He's greatly struggled, though. 2 years ago, it was maybe better than he got credit for. He did create runs at a 108 clip over 416 plate appearances. He had 11 home runs and stole 13 bags. 253, 327, 419 is honestly not bad from a young player. But the kid was supposed to be a superstar. He was the top prospect in baseball, and it hasn't really arrived, but an underappreciated 15 home runs in 448 opportunities last year. A 163 ISO is not where we want it, and it's not in line with the contact that he made. 9.9% barrels and 45% hard hits. There is tremendous left-handed power in this bat. I refuse to believe otherwise. At 2,200, I'm interested. 2,600, I'm interested, but only if I'm stacking Braves or if I need a really cheap one-off opportunity in one random lineup. I think he's in play for that. I made him the home run pick of the day from the Braves at 4.27. Orlando Arcia, Drake Baldwin, mix and match pieces positionally as needed. On the Blue Jays side, as mentioned, it's really these 3 guys. You get tons and tons of power upside from these 2. You have a good start and looking a lot more like his self from Bo Bichette so far. A 416 xWOBA is good. Excuse me. A 416 xWOBA is extremely good and overperforming what he's done so far. 107 WRC plus, hasn't homered, hasn't stolen a base. We want to see that come around. But just the idea that he's getting on base, that he's hitting the ball, that he's squaring things up with a 9.7% barrel, 53.2% hard hits. He's not striking out. He's not really drawing that many walks, so he's putting the ball in play a lot. It's exactly what we want this player to be doing. At 45.28 for his skill set, he is still cheap. 51 for Vladdy, 31 for Vladdy. Pretty cheap for his talent. 52.6% hard hits, 8.8% barrels. He hasn't homered yet this season either, but everything else is in line, and the xWOBA was at 395. The power's going to come. We're not worried about it. You don't want to miss him at these prices because he's only going to go up from here price-wise. Anthony Santander at 43.27. A lot of those same things apply, but he's a lower-end overall hitter. There's more strikeouts. There's more zero quality at-bats. But he's been excellent for power upside as a switch hitter over the last couple of years. You get him from the strong side here, but they're going up against an excellent high strikeout pitcher that could give Santander some problems here. Love him at the price, but not in the matchup. Andres Jimenez is a contact hitter. He hit 3 early home runs and people got excited, and now we're already back down at 233, 33, 426. 365 xWOBA is definitely good. 197 ISO has been falling a little bit. He's stolen 5 bases. He's completely miscast in a cleanup role. I think he's an interesting, effective hitter if he's hitting first. I think he's an interesting, effective hitter if he's hitting 7, 8, 9. At cleanup, it's just weird. It's just not ideal, but they've got not much else. Alejandro Kirk, Mix and match quality catcher. He's got a home run on the board. Will Wagner at 26-22 hasn't done much of anything this year. It's just decidedly mediocre in the show. Last year, over 86 plate appearances. He hit the ball okay with a 305, 337 front end, but only 2 home runs, a 146 ISO. He did create runs well. Got to give him that. 12 home runs and 12 steals over 452 plate appearances last season from Ernie Clement. That's the kind of quality we're talking about down lineup here. At least you get cheap options at multi-position on FanDuel. On DraftKings, you're kind of limited first and third base. It's not really all that great for those guys. Then Nathan Lukes, Alan Roden, a couple lefties with no production so far this year. 340 xWOB over 29 plate appearances is at least a little encouraging for Lukes. Over 91 plate appearances last year, he did go 303, 371, 447. So there's something to cling to there. Didn't flash much power in that sample. But again, you're just talking at best. The positive attributes for these guys down here are BABIP focused, hit tool focused, low strikeout focused. It's not an ideal team for DFS, and Schwellenbach has just monster upside. Schwelly, Braves bats, Blue Jays bats. Nah, Kevin Gausman, then Blue Jays bats. I'm really not that interested in the Blue Jays bats. Gausman's at worst playable, given the strikeout upside that should come with facing the Braves. What's up, Dimitri? No, that's not that weird, Cubs. Nemo. Just for like a lefty righty of it, and Nemo's always had underappreciated power. It's not like what you would think of as like a traditional cleanup hitter, like big hulking power hitter of it, but you don't really need to build a lineup that way anymore. He's a perfectly serviceable cleanup bat. And he's also, in years past anyway, been a good on base and source of average and bat. So not completely strange, not as strange as Andres Jimenez. Oh, speaking of potential breakout seasons, Tyler McGill. Look at that stuff plus mark, 116. He looked like dynamite in camp, and not much has changed over the first few starts. 14 and a third over 3 starts. Hasn't allowed a home run. 7 strikeouts in his last outing. Just went 4 in that one. 7 strikeouts, 3 walks, 2 runs, but neither of them earned on 6 hits. Faced 22 hitters. That was against Miami. Didn't get exactly where we wanted to be DFS-wise in that one, but the strikeouts are very real. The stuff is dynamic. 5 and a third against Toronto. He struck out 4. He walked 3 against that low strikeout Blue Jays squad. 2 hits, no runs allowed. 5 innings in his first start. That was against Houston. Struck out 6, walked 1 in that one. 1 earned run on 3 hits. He's been very, very good to start the year. Gets a matchup against a Twins team that, as we highlighted yesterday, kind of a deceptive 19-2 if you just average out this. Part of that's the 0 there. But Brooks Lee is potentially a decent low strikeout option. But there are a couple guys overperforming what their talent actually is as far as those strikeout numbers go. This is really like a 23 to 25% strikeout lineup on the Twins. So there's a lot of upside on Tyler McGill, especially at 7,900 on DraftKings. That is a very, very favorable price. I love the idea of grabbing that and putting it together with some of that cheap Orioles stack that we were looking at. That is going to really give you some purchasing power in your SP1 and your secondary stack on DraftKings. That is a dynamite combination. For Bailey Ober, 6,700 is a great price for him as well. You really, really can't argue with rostering Bailey Ober at that price. He projects out kind of middle of the board today. I don't love him at 85 on FanDuel. But we're talking about a pitcher who through last year, 3.98 ERA with a 3.83 xFIP, 26.9% strikeouts, a 6.1% walk rate, induced 14.2% swinging strikes. Stuff Plus doesn't love the arsenal, but he was a pitcher who's been capable of working in defiance of that. Year before, 3.43 ERA with a 4.20 xFIP. The xFIP being basically 0.8 higher than the ERA is telling. That's the nature of the pitcher. But 25% strikeouts against 5% walks, nearly a 14% swinging strike rate that year as well. What he does definitely do is allow a lot of fly balls, a bunch of barrels, and some home runs. The home runs are a little bit more circumstantial, though. You're getting a lot of fly ball trajectory, and then it comes down to those barrels to some degree, because you can see in the average exit velo, the average hard hit rates are actually very, very good. So a lot of this is just, about the quality of connection, the circumstances, the ballpark. when he makes those mistakes. So far, it's worked pretty much against him in the early going this year. He had a total meltdown first start, 2 2/3, 8 earned runs, 2 home runs allowed, struck out 3 and walked 3 against the Cards. Second game out, he gave up a home run. That was the only run he allowed, though. Solo shot, 3 hits over 4 innings to 17 hitters against Houston, struck out 5, walked 2. And then we got a depth start. Typical Ober start, really. 4 strikeouts, 1 walk against Kansas City, 1 earned run on 5 hits over 6. It's a quality start. So nothing wrong with Bailey Ober. Nothing that would suggest that he should be at 67, at 77, 8,000, 82. I wouldn't have blinked if I had seen Bailey Ober at 82 on DraftKings today. Would not have blinked at it. So this is a very, very aggressively good price for this pitcher. The problem is these Mets are going to be really good for limiting strikeouts this year. These Mets are going to be really good for hitting for power this year. These Mets are going to be pretty good for creating runs this year. And there are a few just utterly elite bats in this lineup. Let me grab the confirmed version. So it's in no way a safe spot. And it's a team that could absolutely do damage. And you can see they have 4 guys above the magic number in the home run model. So this is another one, gun to my head. Give me the 4.11 implied runs and the 4 guys above the magic number for home runs against Bailey over here. But if you roll this 100 times, it probably comes up roughly even. Slightly, 55-45, something like that in the Mets' favor. But Ober's easily playable at 67. I'm interested in Mets bats, though. I think it's a stackable spot. They're expensive. Lindor, Alonso, and Soto, 52, 61, and 57. It's a pretty penny. 34, 39, 41. No real discount on the FanDuel slate, but all 3 guys above the magic number for home runs. Alonso's been mashing to start the year with 4 homers, a 491 xWOBA, creating runs 113% better than average over 69 plate appearances. Soto's just the best hitter in baseball. Just ignore the slow start. The heavy air quotes, slow start, 2 home runs, 385 xWOBA, creating runs 38% better than average. He's fine. Lindor off to his typical, week 68 plate appearances to start the year. He'll also be perfectly fine. Low strikeout, medium walk rate, good bat on ball. That's all we need from Frankie Lindor. 3,400. Just as we did last year, just continue to ride the discount. If the price keeps dipping, just keep buying. You will be fine in the long term by rostering Francisco Lindor. Starling Marte at 39.27, 192, 313, 346 is not great. 305 xWOB is a little underperforming. 154 ISO. We're not really looking to buy power with Marte. It's like a 12 to 15 homer type these days, but we're looking to buy maybe some hit tool. We're looking to buy maybe some of that speed. Hitting cleanup, going back to that question, I think Nimmo would be the more appropriate cleanup hitter between these two. At least if you're thinking in traditional baseball think. Like I probably would have gone these 3, Nimmo, Vientos, Marte. I think that makes more sense than the way they structured it. But it's also fine if you want to look at it as a base clearer, a table setter, and then 2 more power bats. So it depends on how you break it down. If you look at it as an inning and then starting an inning, that also makes sense. So it really does depend on how you break down the nature of like what are you constructing your lineup for. But I'd be more inclined to put one of those 2 guys in the cleanup role, and it would be the lefty out of those guys so you can get a nice little stagger. Nimmo at 42.29, 4 home runs on the season already, 246 ISO, 373 xWOBA, as if to illustrate the point about his power. 59.2% hard hit, 16.3% barrel so far this year. You can see the premium contact over the last couple seasons has been right there. He was up a little bit for strikeouts last year, 23.5%, but was still drawing his walks. This year he's cut the strikeouts in a small sample, but he also cut the walks so far. That's where some of the quality's gone. 22 homers and a 172 ISO was a power dip last season. Year before, he hit 24 or 193 ISO over 682 opportunities, just struck the ball better. So a little bit of a power slide last year, but it looks like it's fully re-engaged this season. I'm interested at price, 4,200, 2,900 against a righty that at worst, even a good version of Bailey Ober, we know allows premium contact and allows power. So that's an interesting bat for those prices. Mark Vientos has not homered yet this season, hasn't done much of anything to speak of yet this season. 55% worse than average creating runs, 4,000, 2,800. I'm just a buyer at those prices for the power bat. 10.72 in the home run model, at 27 with a 251 ISO last year, over 450 plate appearances. The power and the premium contact is very real. He just hasn't made it. He hasn't found his contact yet this year. Just 6.7% barrels, 33% hard hits. Luis Torrens has made good contact to start this season. He made okay contact last year. Maybe kind of sneaky as a 127 plate appearance catcher, but you don't have much to really cling to as far as a sample here. Over 36 plate appearances this year, he has been decent, but we typically just kind of regard him as a backup bat type of talent. 2,500 to 2,400 for Tyrone Taylor. You do get a little bit of quality bat on ball out of him from time to time. Typically, we're chasing Taylor shares against the lefty, though. I don't love that spot for him. He's just cheap bottom of the lineup. And then Luis Angel Acuna, you can definitely buy some shares. 31.23 is cheap for what the talent upside looks like. Right now, still finding his way in the show, but at least he's only striking out 14.3% in a small sample. He's walked 11.4%, stolen 4 bases already. Solid little 106 WRC plus, the 281 XWOB, but he hasn't really hit the ball effectively yet. You can see no barrels, 26.9% hard hits. Got to give him a little bit of room to grow. If you're taking Twins against McGill, I really don't love it. I expect him to miss a lot of bats here. I think you definitely include Byron Buxton as the only guy above the magic number in the home run model. And then I think your next click is probably Matt Wallner. 9.35, not too much further down. Double-digit barrel rates out of both guys, 54.3% hard hits so far this year for Buxton, 45.9 for Wallner. Wallner's actually underperformed last year in this year's very tiny sample so far. 17.5% barrels and 53.2% hard hits last year over 261. He hit 13 home runs in that medium sample. So definitely an interesting left-handed power bat. A 3 true outcomes hitter, 28.8% Ks, 13.6% strikeouts is in line with expectations. Or 13.6% walks is in line with expectations. Edward Julian is a big question mark up at the top. We've seen some very high-end quality of contact out of him. Right now, 16.1% barrels, 41.9% hard hits. Last year, 9 and change barrels. Year before, 13.1 and 44.9 in a medium sample. But he's got a ton of whiff in his game. 33.9% strikeouts last year, 31.4 the year before. He can draw some walks, hasn't really yet this year. Very much still a work in progress. Needs to find it, or we need to move on from this hitter. But right now, home run on the board in 46 plate appearances. More interestingly, 363 xWOBA, 104 WRC plus. He's kind of getting it done in a short sample up top, and he's still really cheap at second base. So if you can buy that left-handed power at second base, it's kind of interesting. I'm realizing we have this lineup. Fortunately, he's in that spot. Matt Wallner's hitting third behind Buxton, so we're not far off. I didn't waste our time. Confirmed version. So Wallner up here now. He was, I think, fourth before. Ty France at just 3,200, 2,600, 288, 354, 441. More interestingly, a 384 xWOBA, creating runs 34% better than average. If he's going to sting the ball with his ability to hit line drives and capitalize on BABIP, his low strikeout stuff, he's not going to strike out at just 7.7% this year, but something more like the 17% from 2 years ago, I think, is within reach. So you could buy some cheap quality of bat on ball with Ty France. I'm coming back around on France. Thought he'd kind of lost it. And at least over a small sample so far with the Twins in a new home here, he's showing a little bit of upside. So these prices are cheap. I'm interested. If you're going to the Twins, I think he's on the board. And he's one of the more likely contact options if we're just looking for frequency of contact against a guy who can miss some bats. Carlos Correa is on that list as well. Low strikeout for him too. Fairly high walk rate over the last couple of seasons. He's only 4,100, 2,800. He's off to a terrible start. 297 xWOBA backs up the terrible start is real so far. But given the numbers last year and a half season, given what the contact has looked like, what the skill set is for limiting strikeouts and just putting bat on ball aggressively, I really like Carlos Correa if we're going to this team at these prices. I just don't want to go to this team that much. Sub 4 run total. And again, I like the pitcher on the other side. Trevor Larnach's an interesting lefty power bat if you're going there. 6.58 in the home run model. You also get a 7+ out of Ryan Jeffers. So they're showing power, at least several of these guys from 1 through 8 or 1 through 7. That's where you find your upside with this Twins team. You need them to really come out and mash. They're not great for sequencing. Willie Castro's a mix and match piece, as is Harrison Bader. I think any given lineup, you can get away with either of those players. They give you just enough in terms of counting stats. Home run and a stolen base out of Castro, 3 home runs on the board out of Harrison Bader, but you can also see the negative in everything else they do. They're just cheap. Castro gives you multi-position. Bader's a cheap outfield bat. This goes McGill, Mets bats, Ober on DraftKings, Twins bats, Ober on FanDuel. I do think he's playable on FanDuel at the 85, but it's not nearly the value that this is. But the quality start is very much on the board for Bailey Ober if everything's going okay, because he pitches deep into ball games. Minnesota, LA dropped 2. Great. What about Oakland and the White Sox? Because that's our next one up here. 4 o'clock already. We got to keep on talking. We got the White Sox. We do not have the A's yet. Chase Midroth up to 5th in the lineup. Kid's a good hitter. Watched a couple of his plate appearances. I actually picked him up on waivers in the Dynasty League. Anytime there's an interesting young hitter who is not owned on a contract in our minor league system, I try and grab him. His skill set's not exactly conducive to crazy fantasy production because he doesn't really have any power to speak of. It's this guy I'm talking about. But what he has in spades is a extreme ability to stand at the plate and not swing the bat at pitches out of the zone and just wait pitchers out and draw walks and really limit strikeouts. So like this looks absurd right now at 10% strikeouts and 30% walks over 10 plate appearances. But that's within his skill set. I'm not saying it's going to end up anything like that, but low strikeout, high frequency of walk, lot of correlated scoring out of this hitter. I expect before long, he's in that spot. I really honestly think he should be there already, given what his skill set is versus what Miguel Vargas' skill set is. But it's the White Sox, and I could manage this team better than whoever the hell their manager is. Who manages the White Sox? Will Venable manages the White Sox. I did not know that. What we are getting in this game, I think, is the upside at Jeffrey Springs. I don't think you're surprising anybody if you go there. 8,200 is a great price on DraftKings for the upside, though. 23.5% strikeouts in his first 3 outings. You can see that Stuff Plus doesn't like what the arsenal looks like all that much, but he's missing bats, and that's all I really care about against a weak team like this. They're striking out at a 25.4% rate so far this season, and there's a lot of downside in that White Sox lineup. So interested in the spring shares. First start of the season, he struck out 9. That was his premium outing that we've gotten. That was against Seattle at Seattle. We were on that spot. 6 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 9 strikeouts, 1 walk in that one. The second 2 games, not nearly as good. 3 innings against the White Hot Cubbies, 4 earned runs, 5 runs total on 5 hits, struck out 3, walk 4. That's a lot of pitchers are going to come away with that kind of a line against the Cubs this year and have. 3 earned runs, 4 runs total on 7 hits allowed to the Padres, another team that's been playing pretty well to start this season. 3 run earned, home run allowed, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks. So the K's coming down against 2 teams that can be good at limiting the K's. Not that surprising. I think we go back up 7-8 strikeouts pretty easily in play here for Jeffrey Springs. He's just going to be popular. On FanDuel, he's fully priced and popular. So you're just running into that wall a little bit, but there's really nothing not to like about it. And it's very, very easy to differentiate baseball lineups. So I really don't sweat the individual popularity at all. I think he's a good value over here at 82, and you can probably get by given a lot of the bat discounts with him as and at that price as SP2 and not having to be like a cheap SP1. And then 94 on FanDuel. I think he's individually playable in that spot against the worst team in baseball. Sean Burke at 62.72. I just like this A's lineup a little bit too much. The strikeouts really haven't been there at just 13.6%, but he's induced a few interesting looking swinging strikes, which is kind of what I was talking about at the top of the show, trying to find a way to put that. But the strikeout totals are very weak as far as the actual output. 3 strikeouts in the first game, just 1 in the second game while giving up 6 earned runs on 7 hits to the Twins. Struck out 4, but walked 4, gave up a homer, 3 earned runs on 3 hits over just 3 innings to the Guardians. I really don't think we're getting much here. 6,200, it's cheap if you want to throw some darts, but I'd much rather have some of these interesting A's bats with all the power that they've got in the lineup. 9.42 on Brent Rooker is leading the home run model, but we've got 3 guys around him in the 7s, and then we know that JJ Bleday can turn on the occasional pitch. The bottom of the lineup gets a little bit more shaky than that until Mr. Kurz gets here in a couple of weeks, or a couple of days, hopefully. But I think we're definitely mining at least from the top 5. I'm kind of interested in Miguel Andujar's hit tool if I'm going to this team for cheap pricing. A lot more to work with on the A's side. And I just don't think we need the Burke play here. So it's really not on the board. He projects out okay for the money, which is why I'm talking about it at all. But I really don't think you go that direction. Looking at the A's bats, though, Lawrence Butler for 48-29 is an okay start to his year. Home run on the board, 2 steals. 388 on base is really paramount in the leadoff role, hitting ahead of all their power. You definitely want him just focusing on getting to first base. But he's got power. He's got individual skill of his own. 367 xWOBA with a 141 WRC plus to start the year. Last year in just 451, red hot to end the season. 22 homers, 18 steals. He was excellent. There's a ton of left-handed upside there. 7.16 on his own in the home run model. Rooker at 9.42. He's got 4 homers. That's really all he's done this year at 217 ISO and a 360 xWOBA. Suggests there's a lot more to come. 16.7% barrels and 50% hard hits is right around where he was last year. This is almost identical to where he was last year in terms of the contact. The strikeouts are exactly identical. The walks are down slightly, but I think we're fine with Brent Rooker. I'm not sweating the 188, 233 on the front end of the slash line. I expect he'll come around, as I said the other day, too smart of a hitter not to, given the changes that he made over the last couple of years. Soderstrom for just 48.34. FanDuel, I shouldn't say but just 48 on DraftKings. I feel like they should have had him over 5 by now. 6 home runs on the board, a 408 xWOBA to start his career, 305, 388, 644, 199 WRC plus, or start his season. I should have said not career. I know he got some opportunity last year. Excellent start for a very high-end prospect. The power is very, very real. The ability to put bat on ball is very, very real. He's a discerning hitter. There's a lot to like about Soderstrom and a lot to like about the start. I think you include him in most of your A stacks. High priority bat against this pitcher. Shea Langoliers, you're just buying barrels. You're buying cheap home runs at the catcher spot for 4,300 on DraftKings. Very much in play. On FanDuel, I don't love that you have multiple catcher util types, but I think he's very playable alongside Soderstrom. It is a reasonable back and forth, though, if you're building a bunch of A stacks. If you just want to alternate, I think that's also a reasonable enough approach. Andujar, you're not really sweating in that equation, but I do like the hit tool. You're relying on some batting average on balls in play. So far, it's come through for him. 286, 340, 367, but you'd say 319 xWOBA, just around the average. 113 WRC plus, though. As long as he's putting the ball in play, there used to be more power here. He's kind of changed his approach down, now just low strikeout, put the ball in play type. But maybe we see some power come back around. It's been absent since 23. Bleday is an interesting lefty stick for cheap price. 2,500 in the outfield, 4,000 in the outfield. Hasn't done much yet to start this season, but he'll finish the year around 15 home runs. Mix and match quality. Jacob Wilson's been on a tear to start his year as far as the hit tool goes. 344, 344, 508. Had a hit streak going. Not sure if it's still going, but I think he was up to 10, 12 games or something like that. 150 WRC plus. He's very much a hit tool focused player, but he's got 2 early home runs on the board. Urshela, not much of a hitter. Max, I hate this. They need to put a goddamn real initial in this kid's name, or I need to remember to change it every day, or just create an actual lookup for him. This Max Muncy is slashing 180, 196, 300. He's got 1 home run on the board, a 43 WRC plus, and a 120 ISO with a 29.4% strikeout rate. Has not been good yet to start his season. I don't love the White Sox. If you're going there, it's mostly about Lubob being at 3,500, 2,800. Hit a home run the other day, stole a pair of bases, 6 stolen bases on the season. Everything else about his start has been pretty bad. We got to get Lubob in Dodger blue, Blue Jays blue and white, Yankees pinstripes. We got to get Lubob out of Chicago. It's been really problematic. I don't like to just cast around crazy ideas, but like everything story-wise through last year about just like his mental state in the clubhouse. He was also injured for a big part of last season, which is why the numbers were down. But just like on such a historically bad team, he's an emotional guy, and it was just negative big dark cloud hanging over his head for most of the season. I think it had an impact, and it seems to be lingering, at least right now. It's obviously very, very early. The talent is extreme, so the bargain is there price-wise at 35-28, 8.48 in the home run model to back that up, despite the slow start, despite the bad year last year. But we got to snap him out of it. And I think the only solution is getting him out of town. Apparently the Dodgers are sniffing around, though. I was saying it in Discord yesterday. I think it makes a ton of sense to stretch that Blue Jays lineup out. That would solve all their problems as far as that top-heavy short lineup that they've got. They need to fill out that outfield. I think it makes all the sense in the world. And as I said in Discord yesterday, they love to pretend they're small market, and they are not. Tango Hotel jumps in. I saw your comment on the video yesterday. By the way, guys, hit the like button and subscribe for one. After the show or during the show, leave a comment if you get a chance. That also feeds the algorithm a little bit. A lot of you guys do. I try and jump back in and give them little thumbs ups or whatever. But yeah, I appreciated that yesterday, Tango. That was funny. Saying I'm just here to atone for my taking Easton Lucas yesterday. Yeah, that one did not work out, unfortunately. But hey, it was. At least you had a reason, as we discussed on the show, right? When we're making those decisions, we always want to have a good reason for it. Those first two starts look decent, as we talked about with, guys like Clay Holmes turning from a reliever to a starter and developing 3 new pitches over an offseason. The way these pitchers and these organizations go into the lab and tinker these days, it's not totally surprising to see a 28-year-old like that come out and at least until the book catches up, be good. Or we'll see some of those guys kind of truly emerge. It's just, it might not be the case with him. Last night obviously went against. But yeah, I think you had a good reason for doing it when we talked about it yesterday, and just unfortunately didn't go your way. But doesn't mean you were wrong. Made up for it with Shane Baz and Tampa Ohtani bet stacks. That'll do. That'll do nicely. Yeah, I didn't, I don't know. I got to maybe alter my opinions on Mr. Baz. He's been excellent to start the season. That ballpark, I do continue to think is going to work against Tampa pitchers in a lot of home games this year. But obviously that was a ridiculous start out of him yesterday. All right. So this one, if we're going White Sox and you're looking to pair things with Lubob, it's Chase Meadroth in the 5 spot. Just given what I was saying about that high quality hit tool, there's not much else though, which is why I want him in front of Luis Robert and in front of Andrew Vaughn. Miguel Vargas, Lenyn Sosa, these guys are entirely skippable. Neither one of those guys has shown any quality this year over the last couple of seasons. Andrew Vaughn at least has a little bit of power. He's hit 1 home run this year, but a 336 xWOBA, just a 10 WRC plus because everybody on this team is going to underperform. Palacios down lineup, Jacob Maya, Matt Thace. These are all just no thank yous against a quality pitcher like Springs. Michael A., if you're looking to get sneaky and stretch your lineup to a 3-man by going to the 2, 5, and 7 hitters, I could get on board with. I do like Michael A. against lefties. 2,600 is very cheap. He's got a home run on the board. He's stolen 2 bags. Just a 303 xWOBA, 63 WRC plus over his 33 plate appearances, but at least we're getting barrels and hard hits. 9.1% barrels, 50% hard hits, kind of defies what everybody else in the lineup is doing. So I'm a buyer there. I think I'm buying 2, 5, 7 if I'm going to this team. It's like a trifecta, and it'll probably come in as frequently as your average trifecta will. Very much Jeffrey Springs, Oakland bats, really no White Sox. Not their pitcher, not their bats. Oof. Larry says at least you didn't take Houck. Yeah, the triple-double. 10 hits, 12 runs, 11 earned. Yikes. -21. Yeah, not Tanner Houck's day. He's been stumbling early in the season. Problematic for the Red Sox. So as mentioned up top, Jack Flash dominating the top of the pitching board today. 9,000 on DraftKings, 10,000 on FanDuel. Looking pretty worth it. Going up against a Brewers lineup with plenty of Ks, 23.4% for this group of hitters last year, 22.3% so far this year, but definitely some high danger hitters. Jackson Chourio is one of the best young bats in the league. He's off to a great start to his season. Christian Yelich is an excellent veteran bat who's had a shaky start out of the gate, but will be fine in the long term. William Contreras, one of the best catcher bats in baseball. It's just the other 6 spots in the lineup are a little bit dicey. suggests there's plenty of upside for a pitcher who's got a 31.8% strikeout rate with an 11.9% swinging strike rate to start his season. You can see where stuff plus is on him. This is part of why a lot of the community talks about the bubble's going to burst at some point on Jack Flaherty. People were negative on him going into this season, and he's just going to come out here and keep doing Jack Flaherty things like he always has. Last year, with worse stuff, he pitched to a 3.17 ERA, a 3.0 xFIP, 29.9% strikeout rate. He induced a 13.3% swinging strike rate, 31.3% CSW. Sometimes with some of these veteran pitchers and some of these talented guys who have displayed it over years, it does become about pitch mix. It does become about tunneling. It does become about some things that don't necessarily come through in Stuff Plus. So Flaherty gets by on those things, and he gets by in a big, big way. I'm interested, but I'm also fine with just kind of bypassing the high-priced Flaherty and going in other directions, either to some of the other high-priced pitchers or to maybe some less popular options for cheaper. But he's very much on the board. He's the top projected pitcher of the day, and this is a gettable spot against a shallow lineup. There's no getting around it. This is a shallow Brewers lineup. It's just it peaks very high. Going the other way, Quinn Priester is a big no thank you. 1 start, 5 innings. He struck out 4, he walked 2, he gave up a solo home run. It was the only earned run, but he gave up 6 hits to 21 hitters. That was at Colorado, so you got to give him a little credit for being good at Colorado. 4 innings in a start in AAA to begin his season. That was against Miami's affiliate. He struck out 6 in that one. He threw a wild pitch. He allowed 2 earned runs, and he allowed 6 hits to 19 hitters. I'm skeptical about his ability to get through what I think is a good Tigers lineup. Last year, over 49 2/3 in the show, just a 14.9% strikeout rate. 4.11 xFIP is fine, but it came with a 4.71 ERA on top of it. He gave up plenty of power. Not a lot of launch angle. He keeps the ball down effectively, missed some barrels, which works to his benefit as far as limiting home runs. Hasn't really, well, 1 home run doesn't really count. Last year, 3.17% home run rates, flies in the face of that launch angle of those barrels. The year before that, similar. Low strikeout rate, too many walks over 50 innings. Ridiculous on the xFIP and ERA, not even really worth mentioning. The launch angle was low, but the home runs were up. So it's just mistakes getting crushed. And if he makes one of those mistakes to a hitter like Kerry Carpenter at an 11.83 from the left side in the home run model, that's why Kerry's the home run pick of the day today. He's got 5 on the board this year. He's got a 4.30 xWOBA, 50% hard hits, 14.3% barrels, and he only costs $37.31. He's way too cheap for his talent. This is a good power bat. Last year, 16.9% barrels and 50-something% hard hits. Over 296 plate appearances, he hit 18 home runs. He had a 3.03 ISO to ram that point home. 300-plus ISO over nearly 300 plate appearances. It was 45.1% hard hits. I hit the slide over to the right button too quickly. This is an excellent bat. He is ludicrously cheap on DraftKings. I do not understand that price against this pitcher. Fire away with the Kerry Carpenter shares. I'm interested in Gleyber Torres at 42.31. Over 21 plate appearances, he started his season really strong, 389, 476, 556. We'll see where it goes, but a good xWOBA to start the year. Created runs 105% better than average in the tiny sample. I've talked about Gleyber enough. I think anybody who watches this show knows that 2 years ago, I love the improvements that he made and the strikeout rate. He dipped last year. The strikeouts went back up. Some of the quality went down, but I don't think he gets the credit for what that year actually looked like for a second baseman. Is perfectly fine. A lot of room to grow still for Gleyber. He's still mid-20s. What is he? 27, 28? So he's still right in his prime years. Very high quality bat on ball. Put him at the top, leading off ahead of these power hitting lefties, a power hitting righty and Spencer Torkelson. Kind of a leader for this group of kids. Really like Gleyber here, and he's fairly priced at second base. I think that's a dynamite option to pair with Carpenter. Riley Green in the next spot hits the ball extremely hard. If Kerry Carpenter doesn't get the home run, it's going to be Riley Green. By the way, let me see if they have this lineup. I don't. Okay, good. Green at just 4,100. Everything I said about Carpenter carries through. That price is too low for him as well. 233, 270, 450. I just don't care. 257 xWOBA. I care a little bit more about that, but I'm not going to sweat it. 107 WRC plus, 3 home runs on the board at 217 ISO. We're fine. 45.7% hard hits. The barrels have dipped a little bit down to 8.6%. That'll come back around. We're perfectly fine. 9.49 on the home run model. Torkelson, 5 home runs on the board. Great start to him. Nice to see for a kid who's been extremely up and down to start his career over the last 3 years. 339 ISO, 184 WRC plus, a 400 xWOBA. The power is very real. The consistency is what needs to be there. Right now, he has been on fire, and he's still cheap at 39, still cheap at 32 on FanDuel also. I mean, this is just, straight line right there. Those top 4 bats on the FanDuel slate. I would, you can't go Keith in that. That's the problem for the 5th spot on DraftKings. That sucks. The 4 is great right there, and I kind of want all 4. That's a $3,900 a piece. You could be crazy cheap stacking a 3-man Tigers and a 5-man Orioles, or a 3-man Orioles and a 5-man Tigers, and you're gonna be able to spend through the nose at pitcher with those teams. Really like how those are going to align. Let's think through the positioning though. 2 outfielders here. That should align fairly well. You'll have a conflict at second base around Westberg. And then you've got the internal conflict with Colt Keith, Gleyber Torres. But I think, especially with these 2 being in the outfield, that should come together pretty nicely. You're definitely taking your shortstop on the Orioles side. First base, you go probably Torkelson, but there's a good argument to be made the other way. Catcher, you get Adley instead of Dylan Dingler. I like that combination, just piecing it together in my head. Keith is interesting. 3,000 is cheap on DraftKings. So if you can't afford Gleyber at the 42, I think he's at least a reasonable alternative. 184, 344, 224. You got to cling to the on base so far. The 339 xWOBA is all we can really cling to. Struggled last year overall. Didn't really come through with the offensive pedigree that we expected, but was a very, very high end hitting prospect. So I'm willing to give him more time to figure this out. And against this probably minor league quad A type pitcher, I think we can fire away with some Colt Keith shares for cheap, but the positional conflict isn't ideal. And then you get into some lower end bats like McKinstry, hot waiver wire pickup. He's off to a good start this year, but we know that he's not really a very high end hitter. 305 xWOBA kind of backs that up. Dylan Dingler, not much of a bat. He's made good contact over 41 plate appearances, 2 home runs on the board. Maybe you can get away with a cheap catcher share there at 39, but there's probably better ways to go. Trey Sweeney at 32.25. A mid-type prospect. 3,200 is not a bad price, but I don't know that I want to burn shortstop there. Like I said, I'd rather have Gunnar, I think, at short if I'm going to Tigers Orioles as a stack. And then Javi Baez has been dead for years. It's actually shown a little bit of life in terms of the back of the baseball card numbers there. Yet to homer, yet to steal, creating runs 10% better than average. 285 xWOBA tells you the real story. 0% barrels and 24.1% hard hits tells you the real story. If you're going to Brewers against Flaherty, it's really all about those 3 guys. You want those guys in the vast majority of your stacks. That is your direct 3-man to play. Jackson Chourio at 54, 4,000 has 5 home runs. A 308 xWOBA is kind of defiant of his actual talent and everything that he's produced so far. The 303 ISO nearly matching the xWOBA. 139 WRC plus, creating runs like crazy. He's excellent. Bryce Turang ahead of him is kind of hit and miss. Right now, he's been good. 333, 365, 478. He needs to keep up that ability to get on. The 373 xWOBA suggests that he should. We'll see what happens. But right now, he's been good for run creation, helps him exploit his speed. He's got 3 stolen bases on the year, but he stole a bunch of bags last year while not getting on base nearly as aggressively. So that's an interesting option as long as he keeps rolling like that. It does give you a good 4th man to build in here. And then I think you could dip down to like Rhys Hoskins for 4 if you want to stretch out to 5. But you are going against, again, one of the top pitchers of the day and a guy who's excellent at missing bats and not really all that bad as far as losing home runs. So I don't love the upside for the Brewers. Neither does Vegas at a sub 4 implied total. And then we get into the Sal Freliks of the world. Slap hitter, 3,700, 2,800 with a little bit of speed. He's done well to start his season. He's doing Sal Frelick kind of things. 335 xWOBA with 397 on base. He's stolen 4 bags. He's created runs 25% better than average. But that's just all you're really getting. You're not getting a big bat there. Garrett Mitchell maybe has more than that to give. We haven't really seen it yet this year. Just a 293 xWOBA, just a 76 WRC plus. He's at least cheap. You get a lefty stick and you get a little bit of a power bump. So moderately interesting if you're dipping down to the bottom of this lineup in a bunch of Brewers stacks, but I don't really see this as the Brewers spot. And then Joey Ortiz and Oliver Dunn kind of mix and match plays to round things off at the bottom of the lineup. No real prioritization of those two. Jack Flaherty, Tigers bats, Brewers bats if you gotta, but I don't really love it. And no Quinn Priester. We got there, Cubs. Quiet day in chat today, but a bunch of people here hanging out. One more time, hit the like button as we get through these final few games. Subscribe to the channel. Check out the site, rotoscouts.com. NBA projections for the 2-gamer are up. These projections need to be updated with confirmed lineups, but they're all up there right now for you to access, along with home run picks, top stacks tool, power index. NBA is up. As I said, NHL is going to go up after this show is done. Once I can tackle that for the 10-gamer, got to clear out all the line changes, which is why I got to get us out of here soon. Too much to do. But under $1 a day gets you access to all of that stuff at rotoscouts.com. Let's talk Hunter Brown. 10K, 10.5, fair price. High strikeout to walk ratio, 27.7% against a 4% walk rate so far this season. Just 3 strikeouts in his last game. That was at Seattle. That's, as I mentioned, kind of a disappointing start, despite the fact that he went 6. He allowed just two hits, no earned runs. The 3 Ks were a little bit of a letdown against that free swinging squad. Second start of the year, 8 strikeouts, allowed 2 earned runs on 5 hits to Minnesota, 7 Ks, but 3 walks. Home run allowed, 2 earned runs on 4 hits over 6 against the Mets in his first outing. I love the 6 innings per start. Love the shot at the quality start on FanDuel for my 10.5. Kind of need it at that price. As mentioned, I'll give this Cardinals team a little bit more credit maybe than I've been giving them. They have been creating runs, a decent clip. There's not that much quality here, but they're getting by. 3.65 implied total. I think we're dealing with a day where, the 3 to 5 runs against day for Hunter Brown is in the cards for your downside day, but I don't think they're hanging 10 on him. I don't think they're going to Tanner Houck him. So I'm much more inclined to chase the upside with Hunter Brown here. My hope is that maybe he gets a little bit more lightly owned than he should be, given the price on both sites, and then given maybe perceptions of the Cardinals being a little bit better than they are. Eric Fede for 68. I don't think so. I don't really see it. It's a very cheap price. I'll give it that. 6 innings of no-hit ball over his last start against Pittsburgh is good. Struck out just 2 and walked 4. 0 ERA, but a 6.05 xFIP for that start. Second start of the year, he went 3 innings, faced 17 hitters in Fenway Park, allowed 6 earned runs, 2 home runs, 1 strikeout, 4 walks. Has not struck out more than 2 hitters in any of his starts this year, despite pitching 6 innings in 2 of those starts. That's how you get to an 8% strikeout rate and an upside down 14% walk rate. 4.20 ERA with a 5.94 xFIP. I think we just target this pitcher with some bats. It's the Astros. They're elite at avoiding strikeouts. They've got plenty of power. They've got power showing around Jordan Alvarez at 12.68, Christian Walker at 9.60 in the home run model. Altuve and Isaac Paredes up at 7 and change. As stated about Paredes yesterday, this is one of the worst parks in baseball for his home run swing. But as whoever it was, credit to you for bringing it up and reminding me. You do get a lot of quality plate appearances. You do get him stretching pitchers out, fouling balls off, seeing a lot of pitches. That works against Eric Fede and at least puts him on the board for some BABIP-focused quality. 38-32. He's playable. Less so on FanDuel, more so on DK at that price. But he's not ideal, and I don't expect the home run typically in this park. But if you're looking for him just as a cog in the machine, help correlate, help create some runs, he's okay for that. Alvarez is an absolute priority in this lineup. I think he's a great one-off option at just 35 on FanDuel, 56 on DraftKings. It's honestly a little cheap. I know it's weird to hear about that high a price, but for him, he's one of the best 4 hitters in baseball. He's utterly elite, and he's going up against Eric Fede, who is just going to be pitching batting practice. Don't overthink it. Just roster Jordan Alvarez. Christian Walker at 4,029 is cheap. For his generally low strikeout, it was up last year from 19.2 to 24.1, and it's up again in a small sample to 29.9. I don't think we're staying there. He also draws walks. He hits the ball extremely hard when he makes contact, and this pitcher allows a ton of contact. Love the upside for Walker. Love the upside for Jainer Diaz at 3,400. Guys, that's an opportunity that's way, way too cheap. Do not sweat 49 plate appearances. If you worry about this, if you say, oh, I can't play Johnny Diaz, look at that start he's had to this season, you're completely ignoring the last 2 years of ridiculous quality that he's put up. 619 plate appearances last year, 299, 325, 441, a 117 WRC plus, 16 homers and a 142 ISO is fine from a catcher, especially when he's got a slash line like that. And he hit for more power, as I've highlighted a bunch of times already, in 377 opportunities back in 23. So he can provide that as well. And that wasn't at the expense of much quality in the slash line, 282, 308, 538. He's fantastic. He's one of my favorite catchers in the game at 3,400, where you have to play the position. That's an absolute priority. That is a high-end one-off opportunity. We don't have this lineup confirmed yet, so that's good. I assume he's going to be there. I assume that's where he's going to be hitting. But from anywhere in this lineup, that is a great one-off. It's a priority in DraftKings stacks. You can play him alongside or instead of Christian Walker in FanDuel stacks. And then after him, it kind of thins out around Jeremy Pena, Jake Myers, Cam Smith, and Mauricio Dubon. Cam Smith, home run on the board, a stolen base, 5.46 in the home run model. If you're fishing around for a cheap price from down lineup, he's playable. Made the team out of camp by delivering a bunch of spring home runs. Hasn't done much yet in the show, but playable for cheap. Jake Myers, playable for cheap in the outfield. We know what his skill set looks like. 5 stolen bases on the year is fine. Dubon's a positional flex guy without that much appeal. And Pena is just an average shortstop who's probably a little high priced at $3,000 on FanDuel. He's put good bat on ball so far to start his year, but there's not all that much appeal there. 3 home runs, but 207, 288, 379. The 397 xwOBA, though, that stands out. Give him a little bit more credit. He's slightly above average. If you're going to cards against Hunter Brown, it'll be contrarian. They're not off the board because they're also cheap at all those 4s. That's a $4,200 average for your first 4 guys, and then you can build in Walker, Burleson, Gorman for cheaper. Nootbaar is very good. 6.50 in the home run model, 2 homers, 2 steals this season, a 379 xwOBA. He drives the ball effectively, can get on base, can set the table for Contreras, for Donovan, for Arenado. But, I mean, you're talking about a greatly diminished version of Nolan Arenado as still their nominal star. 316, 409, 526. The baseball card looks all right. 211 ISO looks all right. 308 xwOBA is very average. 3.8% barrels, 30.2% hard hits. It's dicey given that broken swing that we saw from last year. Donovan's just kind of a mix and match guy. He's off to a 391, 425, 63 start. I get it. The 422 xwOBA looks outstanding. He's made 50.9% hard hits type contact, 9.1% barrels. He's driving the ball effectively. We see these little pockets of quality from Brendan Donovan, but then everything averages back out and he lands kind of around here. He's good at avoiding the strikeout. He's good at putting bat on ball. It's probably an ideal guy to have in the 3 spot. I don't dislike that spot. And if you're building card stacks, you definitely include the lefty, but he's not a reason to go to the cards. Burleson, you could say all those same things about, but just lower end hit tool. 255, 314, 319 to start his season. Just a 247 xwOBA is very concerning. No barrels yet to start his season. Very cheap at first base. I like him better with a little positional flex because I'd rather have him in the outfield, I think. Jordan Walker at 3,000, 2,700 remains interesting. Just out there doing Jordan Walker things. 273, 344, 400. 290 xwOBA is not ideal, but creating runs at a 116 so far. 2 home runs, 2 steals. Okay, average bat on ball with more quality to come. Nolan Gorman's just a power bat. Home run in 18 plate appearances. The 333, 389, 667 has no chance of holding, but good quality contact, 16% barrels over each of the last 2 seasons. It's the frequency of contact that we worry about. 37.6% strikeouts last year, 31.9 the year before. A lot of zeros from Nolan Gorman. Pedro Pajes, Michael Ciani are mix and match quality players down toward the bottom of the lineup. Ciani in 334 opportunities last year, 2 home runs, 20 stolen bases, 285 on base, pretty bad. Hunter Brown, Astros bats. For maybe some mix and match contrarian cards here and there, but really, really limit your exposure. And for me, it's no Eric Fede. I really don't see it, even at price. 3 to go. Monty says, Monty, good source of Astros information. Says Pena stated his intention to steal 30 bags this season. To be honest, he's the only real threat to do so in this lineup, so it's worth monitoring as the season goes, especially if he moves out of the 6th spot. Yeah, that would definitely help his upside if he can manage to get on base effectively this year, and if he's just running it and they move him up in the lineup. Problem with that idea is you got Jose Altuve kind of anchored in the top spot in the lineup. So at best, you'd end up with him in the 2 spot, and that's not really ideal. What they could do there is move him to 3. You move Paredes out of the 2 spot, but then you lose all those bat extensions, plate appearance extensions. But that would probably be move Alvarez up to the 2, slide Pena in 3, leave Walker 4, but then you get really heavily right-handed as well. It's just difficult to land him up there because he's not like the quality stick that Bregman was. Obviously, he's no Kyle Tucker. But 4 steals, it really obviously needs to push the on base to deliver on that. What was his on base last year? 308 last year, 3-something the year before, 324 the year before. If he's in this territory at 324, I could buy 30 stolen bases. He stole 20 last year, getting on at a 308. It would give him a little bit of an additional push toward being a slightly above average shortstop. Soon, Larry. I mentioned him in passing as I was talking about the A's before. It's going to be interesting to see where they slide everybody in. I think, like I said, that's where maybe we see Soderstrom catch a couple times. Rooker, as you're mentioning, played in the outfield the other day. But yeah, if Nick Kurtz happens to be available in your season-long leagues, if you have a dynasty format, he should be gone a long time ago. There he is. But an absolute priority pickup. I will this week, I think, write up another waiver wires column. They're not going to be every week, at least not early in the season. I'm just going to do it when there's like high priority guys, and then we'll get into a little bit more regular of a production as the season goes. But so far in AAA this season, Kurtz has 7 home runs in 67 plate appearances, slashing 367, 409, 817, 450 ISO, a 503 WOBA, 194 WRC plus. It's just an absolute masher of baseballs. He's only been on the scene since last year. 2024, he went 4 home runs in 50 plate appearances in the minors, and he was in college before that. 4th overall pick in the 2024 draft. But the kid will be here. I think he should be here already, honestly. But it is not going to be long. It's going to be probably in the next week or 2. If it's into May, I would be surprised. Yusei Kikuchi comes with a lot of upside, comes with a lot of downside. It's always going to project out okay, given the strikeout stuff. So far this year, he's just at a 21.6. Last season, 28%. Year before, 25.9. Year before that, 27. But too many home runs, but diminishing as far as those home run problems go. The most important thing is we've highlighted a bunch of times. That walk rate got halved over his last 2 seasons where it was good. It's up a little bit so far this season, which we do not want to see from this pitcher. I assume he's just going to work it out. Some early season kinks over 3 starts. Nothing to get worried about yet. But that's going to be a problem for him until it gets ironed out. He has gone 6 in each of his starts. So even with a couple of walks, a couple of runs, a homer here and there, they're letting him pitch. So I do think you got a really good shot at a quality start outing if you get, obviously any kind of quality. Didn't mean to do that. 3 earned runs allowed in each of his first 2 starts. He struck out 5, walked 0 in his first outing. That was against the White Sox, though. Struck out 6, walked 5 in the second outing while allowing 2 home runs to those pesky St. Louis Cardinals. Only 3 earned runs overall over 6, though, and only 4 hits allowed. So the walks burnt him. Strikeouts were kind of there. 5 Ks in the next outing, 3 walks, 4 earned runs on 6 hits. Again, over 6 innings. That was to the Rays at Tampa Bay. I sound like I'm looking to find him excuses in that one by citing the ballpark. He gave up 1 home run in that one. It's a patient lineup with the 3 walks. This is another fairly low strikeout, or at least like average-ish strikeout lineup. What they don't do great is draw walks, though. So hopefully that kind of helps alleviate that concern with Kikuchi. You can see this collection of hitters, 6.6% last year, 7% the year before, against fairly low strikeout rates. We do have the confirmed here, by the way. So hopefully that helps out our guy Kikuchi here, because I do think I'm going to end up using him. But I think it's very much a 1-1 situation where basically every share of Kikuchi I probably want a Ranger stack on the other side, because, or not on the other side, but in another lineup, because the downside is real and their power is real and they're showing it here. Tyler Mahle on the mound for the Rangers. I really don't think we chase. Yeah, the 1.32 ERA looks pretty good so far this season, but we're 10 points below average by stuff plus. We've allowed plenty of premium contact in the small sample on a fly ball trajectory, so he's lucky to not have allowed a home run in that 4.45 xFIP underneath that sparkling ERA. 22% strikeouts, but a 13% walk rate. That's going to be problematic. 17.9% Ks in his 12 2/3 in 3 starts in his return last year, just 5 starts the year before that, and 25 2/3. You got to go all the way back to 2022 to find his last significant sample, 120 2/3. Struck out 25%, but walked too many, 4+ in ERA and xFIP. Moderate amount of home runs on an extreme fly ball trajectory. So I think we're leaning kind of Angels bats, as is the home run model. So we're going Angels bats, Yusei Kikuchi, and some Rangers bats. When we look at the Angels, Taylor Ward off the top spot for 43 on DraftKings is really appealing. 35 on FanDuel. He's fully priced over there. You get a nice discount on the DK slate. 12% barrels. Last year it was 13%. You're just buying a lot of good contact there. 5 home runs on the board already this season. Needs to come around and is on base. Last year he got on at a 323 clip, which is adequate. This season just 275, but a 321 xWOBA, 250 ISO. Power is very, very real. He hits in a great spot in this lineup. Head of Luis Rengifo is not all that critical, but hitting ahead of Mike Trout and Jorge Soler is. So far, Trout with 6 home runs, Soler with 4. They haven't done much in terms of batting average, getting on base, but the power is extremely real with those two hitters. 413 xWOBA for Trout, 353 for Soler, 339 and 259 on the ISOs, 18.2 and 19.4% barrel rates. These guys just destroy baseballs when they make contact. Don't overthink it. Just play the 2 power hitting veterans. And then Renifo's on the board in between all those guys. 2,800 with 3 position eligibility on FanDuel, 39 at second or third on DraftKings. You want him at second, not third. 259, 305, 407 start to his year, but a solid little 331 xWOBA. 1 home run on the board. He hit 6 last year, but he stole 24 bags while getting on at a 347 clip. You just want him for correlated scoring, table setter. If he steals you a base and provides a little bit of a bonus, so much the better. But we're just looking for him to get on 3 times, score a bunch of runs if this team goes off. Travis d'Arnaud as their backup catcher. Really interesting when he's in the lineup. We talked about him throughout last season while Murphy was out. Travis d'Arnaud has always been a high quality of contact backup catcher. He is a starting caliber catcher bat. 9% barrels, 42.8% hard hits 2 years ago, 10.5%, 41% hard hits last year. He hit 15 home runs in 336 opportunities last year. He had a 202 ISO in his last year in Atlanta. Year before, 11 home runs in 292 opportunities, just a 172 ISO that year. 18 homers in 426 opportunities the year before that. Travis d'Arnaud is a real hitter as a catcher. There's power there. He's cheap at 3,000. He's going up against a insignificant pitcher who's allowing a ton of premium contact. That could be a very probably sneaky catcher play today. 6.76 in the home run model. I like the upside for d'Arnaud, especially in Angel stacks. But if you're looking for a inexpensive option to one-off, it's also not a bad catcher option. Nolan Chanuel at 37.29, good on base skills. 365 on base so far this year. 2 home runs on the board, just a 301 xWOBA, but a 193 ISO. He's driven the ball effectively, despite not really barreling it, despite not coming away with a good hard hit rate. 144 WRC plus, that plays. I just don't know that the power upside is truly ideal at first base. Kind of wish he was an outfielder, but he's on the board. Second base eligibility for Kyron Paris is nice on both sides, but it does conflict a little bit with Luis Rengifo. I think you're either oring those guys. 4,000 is where you want Kyron Paris on DraftKings. FanDuel dramatically overreacted to a hot start. 3,500 over 3 positions. Fine. He has hit 5 home runs. He has stolen 5 bases. He's got a ridiculous 427 xWOBA. I need to see a little bit more. So does the model, just a 2.93 in the home run model, but making excellent contact to start his year. There's no arguing with it. Joe Adell's the guy I kind of wanted to have that start so I could keep talking about how much I love that swing. Excellent swing speed, high frequency of fast swing rate. Against this pitcher, I like the upside for Adell, 7.68 for a cheap price in your home run model. 2 on the board. A 371 xwOBA is definitely appealing. Shows that we should be getting a lot more production out of Joe Adell in the long term. So very appealing for a cheap price. He's my next priority guy after we go like 1, 2, 3, Darno 4, and then probably Adell 5 for me because I'm chasing those home runs. But you do have like Shanuel and Renifo in that mix as well. On the Rangers side, again, we want to be rostering some Rangers, even if we're rostering a fairly large share of Kikuchi because of that downside, because of multiple guys above the magic number for home run upside. Corey Seager and Adolis Garcia. We also talked about how ludicrously cheap this team is. It's another great option to pair with the Orioles and their cheap prices and chase some upside pitching. So there's a ton on the board today as far as value, especially on DK goes. 12.50 for Corey Seager. He's got 3 home runs on the board already this season, a 322 xwOBA, exactly at league average for run creation. I promise you this will all improve. Semion's the question mark, as we highlighted early in the show when somebody brought it up. We were kind of growing concerned about Semien. 249 xwOBA is pretty bad. 123, 194, 193 start over 62 plate appearances coming off of a down season. We just need to see that frequency of bat on ball continue and hope that it continues, that it comes around. But we're not talking about extreme barrels. We're not talking about extreme hard hits, even in his good seasons. So the decline's going to be fast for Marcus Semien when it arrives, and we might be midway through. We might be ankle deep in that decline right now. Josh Young at just 35, 3,000 is an excellent buy. 27 great plate appearances so far, 407, 407, 704, 375 xwOBA. Creator runs 120% better than average in the tiny sample. He's just cheap, and that is a real bat. 11.9% barrels, 47.1% hard hits 2 years ago, 9.9 and 39.7 in mostly lost season last year, 188 plate appearances. He hit 7 home runs. Year before, 23 homers and 515, a 201 ISO for the season. Adolis Garcia, 4,500, great price for him on DK. 33 is playable on FanDuel. 2 homers on the board. A 403 xwOBA is the thing to focus on. Don't sweat the 216, 322, 412 start. 196 ISO is all right. 403 xwOBA is excellent. 18.6% barrels and 53.5% hard hits. This is the version of Adolis Garcia that we want. If he continues to do exactly what he's done so far, the numbers will be there. He will be the 30-plus home run version of Adolis Garcia. If he dips back down to last year's numbers, we'll have some problems on our hands. Right now, against this pitcher, I love the upside. Kevin Pillar, Jonah Heim, Kyle. Oh, by the way, Adolis might get popular around people who chase BVP. They talked about his numbers. It's just like 5 plate appearances, but he's got a pair of home runs against Kikuchi. So those who chase BVP will be on that Adolis play in a big, big way today at those prices. Higgy is interesting. Everything I said about Travis d'Arnaud also kind of applies to Kyle Higashioka at a cheaper price. We saw him go off for home run upside last year, hit 17 in 263 after being at exactly 10 in similar plate appearance samples each of the 2 years before that. There's quality upside there. He always hit the ball well in terms of barreling it, double-digit barrel rates each of the last couple of years. Fairly high strikeout, low walk the last 2 seasons. So far this year, very low strikeout, but hasn't done anything in his 28 plate appearances. If you're just hunting for cheap power upside at catcher, 8.11 in the home run model is kind of interesting for Higgy down lineup. So you got 2 interesting, cheap one-off catchers on either side of this game. And a more expensive catcher who's also highly playable in Jonah Heim. Kevin Pillar is just a righty bat for a very cheap price in the outfield. He's always been decent for average. He's got medium power, but not really showing a ton to start this season. 251 xwOBA under the 313, 375 start. Ezekiel Duran, Leody Taveras, mix and match quality guys from the bottom of the lineup. Duran hasn't done anything in 12 opportunities this year. Taveras has been doing Leody Taveras kind of thing. Stolen 5 bases, pretty empty 205, 222, 250 with a 187 xwOBA. That's really bad. Oh, this is going to suck. You say Kikuchi. Rangers bats. Angels bats. I do have to put Kikuchi up that high. Above the Rangers bats, unfortunately. Even with them drawing a 4.43 implied total and showing power against, and with his scuffles, the ceiling is real. And in this spot, I am reluctant to, but I think it's the right thing to do. Kikuchi above the Rangers slightly. Kikuchi, Rangers, Angels, and no Tyler Mahle. 2 to go. 4:45. way later than I wanted to be off this show. Apologies to anybody who uses the NHL projections. I will get them up as quickly as possible after this. Cubs and Padres on the board. No confirmed lineups here. We'll try and make this quick. Randy Vasquez against this Cubs lineup? No, thanks. 9.7% Ks and 19.4% walks so far this season? No, thanks. 5 innings, he was okay in his last start. 1 run to 18 hitters, but struck out 1 and walked 3. I just don't see the ceiling, even at 6,000 against a very effective Cubs lineup. I think we can fire away with some Cubs bats, though. And then Shota Imanaga, 8,700, pretty good price. This is a good pitcher. 2.70 ERA this season, but a 4.91 xFIP defies what I just said. Last year, 2.91 ERA with a 3.62 xFIP, 25.1% Ks, 4% walks, 14.4% swinging strike rate. He was very, very good over 173 last year, despite not really measuring out by Stuff Plus all that effectively, despite allowing some home runs on a fly ball trajectory. So there's some downside with the pitcher. You can nitpick your way around it. But the Cubs are favored in this one today on the road against the Padres, who won 11 straight at home. So Vegas feels like he can handle it. 364 implied total for the Padres suggests there's upside for Imanaga. Price is okay on FanDuel. It's downright appealing on DraftKings. I think you ignore the 15.4% strikeout rate. Expect that to go up by about 10 points in the long term. But against this fairly low strikeout Padres team, it could come back to bite the ceiling of this spot a little bit, which is why I think the appeal is where he's a little bit cheaper at 87 on DK. Fernando Tatis, I think he hit 2 home runs yesterday, if I'm correct. I think he hit 2 and Mookie hit 1. And somebody had asked, who do you like better, Tatis or Mookie? Both obviously got there. 6 home runs, 6 stolen bases on the season. A monster 5.16 xWOBA. He's created runs 107% better than average. A 3.11 ISO. Nothing not to love about Tatis except for maybe the price, 62.42, but well worth it. You can easily average that down going down the lineup here, but it gets thin. This is what I meant when I was saying that this lineup is a little bit top heavy. You get down to an ancient Julie Gurriel with whatever he's got left, which so far hasn't been much. Jose Iglesias is not much of a hitter. Connor Joe is a mix and match type righty. Elias Diaz is a mix and match catcher. Oscar Gonzalez is, memory serves, not much of a hitter. Is that him? This is an okay season. 382 plate appearances back in 22, 296, 327, 461, 122 WRC plus. Was that with the Guardians? I think that's where he was, right? Or has he just been with the Padres? No, yeah, he was with the Guardians. That was right. So just the fact that I had to look him up should tell you everything that you need to know. Hitting 5th in this lineup, if that's where he lands, if you're stacking this team against the lefty, sure. But there's no real appeal there. It's just a guy to bolt on to those 4 excellent bats. But this is extreme. This is a 4-man group and a 5-man group. And one of these things is not like the other. I absolutely adore Yuli Gurriel as a player and what his career was, but he's not that guy anymore. I've said it before. I think he would have been a borderline Hall of Famer had he been, started his career at age 22, 23 rather than age 32. Stupid embargo. But difficult to envision at this point. 2,200, 2,500. He'd be in play if I'm going to this Padres team, but in no way is he a reason to go to this Padres team. It's probably best used as a 3-man. It's probably best used as Tatis Machado and Xander Bogaerts, with apologies to Luis Arraez and his excellent hit tool, his 2 home runs that he's got this season. As mentioned earlier, this is the first time in his career he's had more than 2 home runs before May, or 2 home runs before May. He's just a table setter. I'd rather have the actual quality bats around him. Machado has a home run, 6 stolen bases, 317, 394, 476. Most importantly, 359 xWOBA. Xander Bogaerts off to a pretty decent start, 333 xWOBA for him. No power on display yet, but he's stolen 4 bases. He's getting on. He's creating runs. He's doing everything we need. So that's your trio right there. 3 of those 4 guys. If you're bolting on, probably your top priority bolt on is Luis Arraez. And then it's probably Oscar Gonzalez. And then good luck, I guess probably Connor Joe, with a little bit of quality bat on ball from the right side 2 years ago, 8.2%, 41.5% barrels and hard hits. This is if Connor Joe's even in this lineup. To be quite honest, I didn't even know he was on this team until this morning. He did make 61 plate appearances in AAA after this year for the Pods. This is a 32-year-old player. I mean, this is a guy who just didn't make the squad out of camp that they had on a contract that they could do this with. 240, 377, 320 down there, a 92 WRC plus, struck out 14% and drew a bunch of walks, but didn't really do much for a guy, a alleged major league talent playing at AAA. So you're just mix and matching there. I think it strongly favors Imanaga. And then on the Cubs side, we've talked this lineup up and down already this season, and they're just still surging. 5 home runs, a great start for Kyle Tucker, a 451 xWOBA, creating runs 86% better than average. For 63-45, you just hold your nose and pay it. He's one of the best hitters in baseball, and everybody around him is cheap. Like Justin Turner's playable for 29 if you just need to purely average it down, as long as he's hitting right between him and Michael Busch. So you can play Turner there. But if you're just skipping Turner and going to Busch, Dansby, the Pete Armstrong maybe, you can cheapen this up in an awful hurry. Ian Happ's a priority in the leadoff role ahead of Tucker, 4,500, 3,200. You just want to buy his ongoing on-base skills. Right now, it's only at 309. He's got a 328 xWOBA, keeping him afloat. 1 home run, 1 stolen base. It's been an ugly start for Ian Happ, not doing Ian Happ things. Last year, got on in a 341 clip, hit 25 home runs, stole 13 bases. Similar numbers the year before with a 360 on base. You just need him to get on base more ahead of Kyle Tucker, and this offense will be even better than it's been to start the season. Michael Busch on a roll, 4 home runs on the board, 403 xWOBA. He's crushing the ball to start the year. 11.9% barrels, 50% hard hits so far. 310, 394, 621. Tremendous start. Still only 47 at first base. Still only $3,000 at first base. You prioritize him ahead of Justin Turner. Like if you have to make this decision, it's easily Michael Busch. Turner's just cheap and playable. Busch is actually good and appealing. Dansby Swanson is appealing for 44 for 32 across on FanDuel. 4 home runs on the board. He's hitting the ball hard. 203 ISO, 366 xWOBA. Don't sweat the slash line. It should come around. We're more focused on the hard hits, the premium contact with Dansby. I like the upside. Even if he's hitting around Mendoza, I don't really care that much as long as we're getting the power production. Nico is a mix and match hit tool and speed focused player. 354 on base with 6 steals is nice. Not a great spot in the lineup for that skill set, hitting 6th. Pete Armstrong up to 257, 313, 432. 297 xWOBA is not great, but he's got 2 homers. He's hit a few doubles. He's stolen 7 bases. He's up to a 113 WRC plus. This is the growth that we need to see from Crow Armstrong at the plate. Miguel Amaya, Matt Shaw, mix and match options down the board. Shaw was a player we were a little bit more enthused about over the first couple of weeks. Hasn't done much over 68 plate appearances, but you got to give him some time. I think he grows into a little bit of a player. 37-25 at third base is all right, but the production hasn't been great. Cubs bats. Imanaga, Pods bats, no Vasquez. And Pods bats are not a priority. Last game up. Speaking of priority bats, Atlanta, Houston are out. Anything crazy? Nothing crazy for Houston. I think it's almost exactly the same as we talked about. Atlanta, Drake Baldwin, Eli White, Jared Kelenic, Nick Allen to round out the Atlanta lineup. Harris, Riley, Olsen, Murph, Albies. A little bit different on the Atlanta side, but nothing crazy. So last game up. Do not play Ryan Feltner. Do play the Dodgers bats if you can afford them. You got to string them together a little bit. You got to play the average down game by putting some Will Smith, some Tommy Edmonds, some Max Muncy for a great price for some Michael Conforto at 4,400. Muncy did not hit our home run last night, unfortunately. Got on base, I think, 3 times, but didn't hit the home run we were looking for. But that's why, the Max Muncies of the world are still appealing DFS options despite low averages, because they draw so many walks. They stay relevant. That's why they typically are solid run creators, the 3 true outcomes guys, the Kyle Schwarbers of the world, the Max Muncies of the world, the Wallners of the world, supposedly. Ohtani for 65-45. Masher. He hit one yesterday at a 17 plus in the home run model. Comes back today at 13, and I like his chances to get another one. 477 xWOBA out of him. Just one of the top 3 players in all of baseball. Mookie Betts also on that short list. 304, 400, 554 for Mookie at 250 ISO, 170 WRC plus. 3 positions is great on FanDuel. He's very expensive. He's difficult to pair with Ohtani, but it's not impossible. And if you 3-man this Dodgers team, Even with 3 expensive players, if you're going Freddie or Teoscar with those two, you could probably get there at 3.5 with one of the 3 super cheap appealing teams that we've talked about. So it's not off the board to get to some Dodgers. Hernandez at 51.38 has 5 home runs on the board, a 347 xWOBA, 281 ISO. Freddie at a 333 ISO, 483 xWOBA with a pair of home runs over his 25 plate appearances. Missed a little time, but when he's been here, he's been excellent. Conforto is a power hitting lefty with a little bit of quality still in the tank. 4,400, 2,800. More specifically on FanDuel, he's very cheap. On DraftKings, he's just floating around average, but maybe 200 to 500 cheap depending on the day. Will Smith at 45 is a very affordable catcher. 40% hard hits, 9.4% barrels to start his year. 364, 482, 500, a 379 xWOBA from a excellent power hitting catcher, one of the best catcher bats in baseball. Big time buyer. As I've highlighted a bunch of times, you could just take a stack from here and consider it an upside 5-man stack. That's how deep and quality this lineup is. Tommy Edmonds hit a bunch of weird home runs since joining the Dodgers. I don't know what they're feeding him, but it's been real, and he's been very productive. 411 xWOBA over 73 plate appearances to start this year. It's not who he ever was. Maybe something's different. Maybe he got a little bit of gamma from the Incredible Hulk. 4,600 on DraftKings at second base, appealing. 3 positions on FanDuel for just 33 is appealing. Andy Pye has a 28-26, pair of home runs on the board, struggling out of the gate this year. A little bit of quality last year with 13 homers over 443 plate appearances. That's his game. He's a power hitting righty. He's cheap. He makes things work from the bottom of the lineup if that's where he's hitting. The Rockies. I threatened to do this all the way back 2+ hours ago at the beginning of the show, and I'm going to do it. There is some power showing for the Rockies. I think we have to at least acknowledge it. Mickey Moniak at 9.99 is not uninteresting given a 12.5% barrel rate, 50% hard hits. The fact that he hit 14 home runs in a bad year last year, the fact that he hit 14 home runs in a decent year in 323 plate appearances the year before last. Mickey Moniak's got talent. He's only 2,100, 2,300. They're facing Landon Knack. This is not exactly vintage Clay Kershaw on the mound today. There is definitely real power in this Rockies lineup. Michael Talia at 12.05 in the home run model, only cost 29.24. He's struggling this year, but it's 63 plate appearances. For a kid who's just a loose free swinger, he needs to actually make contact. So far, he's striking out at a 46% rate. Landon Knack should afford him the opportunity to actually make contact with the ball. Top spot, Ezequiel Tovar at 10.88. Nick Martini even coming in at 8.89 in the home run model. The reason for that is Landon Knack over 69 innings last year in 12 starts had a 4.90% home run rate with all this premium contact on that absurd launch angle. Knack allows power. So far this year, 2 1/3, 15 hitters in his most recent start at Washington, gave up 5 earned on 4 hits, struck out 2, walked 4, and gave up a home run. Just 2 innings in his first appearance. That was not a start. That was a relief appearance. It's just a spot filler as a pitcher. He's projecting out well for these cheap prices because this team sucks. So we are acknowledging how bad the Rockies are in Landon Knack's projection. I still don't really want to go there. 74, 7,000. I think if you do it, you throw darts at it on DraftKings. I don't know that we get there for real on FanDuel, but we're going to be playing pitchers against this Rockies team, especially as the mantra has been over years. Rockies on the road against a righty. And it should come through again. So I do think he's playable. He's still very much a dart throw. If you need a crazy cheap team that Vegas completely doesn't respect at all, a 3.15 implied run total against Landon Knack is saying something about the quality of this Rockies team. The model is saying something a little bit different about their home run upside. Ryan McMahon at 9.78. 3,100, 2,700. These guys are cheap. I think at most you want a 3-man 3-man DK stack, probably a 3-man secondary stack from FanDuel with a really good one-off or an elite starting pitcher is the way to do it. Because they're not deep. And even if you get the big knock out of somebody like Talia, there's no guarantees that anybody around him is going off. You might just get the big home run and then empty spots elsewhere. We've got multiple guys showing quality for power. There are going to be days where the Rockies come through. So If we're going to get cheap, if we're going to get contrarian, I like doing it against mediocre pitching. I don't love doing it with one of the worst lineups in baseball, but when they show this kind of power, I will. Moniak's interesting. Talia's super interesting. McMahon's not uninteresting. Ezekiel Tovar's really interesting. Kyle Farmer at 23 on both sites with 3 positions on FanDuel. If we need to stretch it to a 5-man, or if we're just looking for a quality utility bat to build into another lineup as just a super cheap one-off at a random position that nobody's going to have. Nobody in their right mind is going to be one-offing Kyle Farmer. It's on the board. I would. What that actually says about me, I don't know. Zach Veen down toward the bottom of the lineup, a hit tool and speed-oriented prospect. Moderately interesting. Adil Amador, not on the DraftKings slate, wasn't yesterday either. Very cheap on FanDuel, but not much of a player. Jacob Stallings, minor power upside, 4.68 in the home run model when everybody else is showing it. Tells you all you need to know about the actual quality there. 1 through 6, kind of interesting. Again, I think it's better as a short stack. You can kind of see how the power comes together, though, for the lineup. I'm trying my best not to sell the Rockies too hard. I don't know how much Landon Knack you get to. I know it's a great spot, but I think people are going to go there. I would expect he's going to be really popular. I got to end this show. It's 5 o'clock. Last thing I'm going to check is where he's projecting for DraftKings popularity. That's the wrong side. Yeah, that's more than I would want. Upper teens on DK. I get it. It's matchup wise the best or second best SP2 opportunity on the board. He projects out great for that price. I think you can get away with Charlie Morton for cheaper. I think you can get away with Bailey Ober for cheaper on the right day. I don't really like any of the other cheaper options, but only slightly more expensive. You can definitely get away with Pepio with some strikeout upside. A little bit more than that, you're getting to Kikuchi, Tyler McGill with tons of upside for Ks on either one of those guys. Slightly more of a spend. Jeffrey Springs is right there. I don't know how desperate we need to get with a ton of popularity going there for Landon Knack. I think it's dicey. It's also easy to click on. He's very, very cheap. But let's not get overly excited about the Rockies. That was your slate, guys. Up and down in way too much time. 2 hours, 45 minutes. Hey, hell of a show. Appreciate all you guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe. Let me get out of here and get on some of those NHL line combinations because that's going to be a mess at the end of the season too. And I got to get it up by like 6 o'clock so people have an hour to work on it. I will, before I do that though, update all of these lineups on the site. All the confirm will go up right away and you'll have that to work with. Good luck out there tonight. Somebody go win something. When you do, share a screenshot in the Discord. Jump into Discord. Link is in the chat somewhere. And we'll be back for more tomorrow, gang. See you.